of Bucksport Town Council to order for April 2nd. This meeting is being broadcast live on Spectrum Cable TV channel 1303 and streamed simultaneously on the Town of Bucksport's YouTube channel. My, what has now become fairly regular, just housekeeping things before the meeting, just because I know we have some people that aren't always here, and yes, I'll try to speak up. If this would be a great time to make sure your electronic devices are on silent. If you are going to speak this evening as a member of the public, please come to the podium and state your name and address. There are microphones all throughout the room. If you whisper to the person next to you, in all likelihood, it will be on YouTube. And for the folks from the community and social agencies that are presenting this evening, we're going to, as we traditionally do, we'll be giving everyone 3 minutes, and our town clerk will be timing that. I won't cut anyone off mid-sentence, but at the 3-minute mark, if you can finish your sentence, that would be great. I think that's everything I had. Roll call, Kelly.
Deputy Mayor Eastman.
Here.
Councillor Tarian.
Here.
Councillor Hare.
Here.
Mayor Bissonnette.
Here.
Councillor Rabs.
Here.
Councillor Doty.
Here.
Councillor Rankin.
Here.
Thank you. We do have an agenda item this evening, which is Resolve 2026-114, which is approving the appointment of Caitlin Eldridge as Assessor of Taxes for the term April 2nd, 2026 through March 31st, 2028. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor, I would
Yes.
just add that we're very fortunate to have a well-qualified and very well-familiar individual apply for this position. Caitlin served in this capacity for approximately 5 years up until around 2 years ago when she had she became a mom, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So things look a little bit different for her now, and we're very, very excited to have her back on board.
Awesome. Great. Anything else? All's in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Budget review. We'll lead off with community and social agencies. As I mentioned a moment ago, everyone will have 3 minutes to come up to the podium, or whoever the representative is from each agency will have 3 minutes to come up to the podium and talk through their high points. Ms. Fitzgerald from the village reached out to me today and has a conflict, so traditionally we do these in alphabetical order or kind of alphabetical order, and village being where it is in the alphabet, that would probably put her dead last, so I think an exception in this instance would be okay, so we will let Ms. Fitzgerald from the village go first, and then we'll resume from there.
Good evening. Thank you for considering support for community and social agencies. I'm requesting a small support for Ghostport, $1,500. Although I believe supporting things that make people smile during these times is important, I want to focus on the bottom line because I understand that there is a need for that right now. The biggest reason to support Ghostport is the large benefit it gives the economy. You may be thinking, yes, it's just one day, but that one day helps support businesses during the slow winter months. And it lasts longer than, that effect lasts longer than just a day, just like Bayfest, because these kinds of things make businesses want to come into Bucksport. Numerous nonprofits also receive support and visibility that day from either proceeds from different events or because they are vendors. The money helps the event be more appealing, thereby bringing people into town. And the movie does this as well, but also people go out to eat first and are supporting the Alamo. In addition, Ghostport, particularly the movie, helps support the Village Hive newsletter. The newsletter boosts the economy year-round. We do this in a few ways. We highlight events that bring people downtown. We highlight business events that bring people to specific locations. And we do a monthly in-depth highlight of a Bucksport business to increase visibility and customer base. The newsletter also provides visibility for community and social agencies and connecting people to resources in these tough times. Thank you for your consideration. Do I stay for questions or do I sit?
Any questions? Thank you. And you can leave as you need to, whatever, yep. All right. So next is the Aroostook County Action Program.
Good evening, counselors. Thank you so much for having me this evening. My name is Jason Parent, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Executive Officer for Community Action in Aroostook, Washington, and Hancock counties. I have served in the capacity as the Executive Director of ACAP, Aroostook County Action Program, for the past almost 11 years, and since July 1st of last year, have served as the leader of the Community Action Agency, your Community Action Agency, as programs and services from Down East Community Partners transitioned over under contract to our agency. Down East Community Partners is in the process of dissolving. We have taken over their programs and services, but not their liabilities. So we are operating services out of in Hancock County in a couple of locations. The Avery Care Early Care and Education Facility is the consolidated facility in Ellsworth where we offer services, but also Friendship Cottage is our other facility that we're just in the process of purchasing to save those services for aging adults in the communities of Hancock County. Specifically here in Bucksport, over the last year, we provided 195 units of service to community members, and I say we, that's Community Action, both iterations of the agencies that serve this community. And that was for about $486,000, just over $486,000 worth of services to this community. A lot of those services are for vulnerable populations, namely senior citizens, families with young children. And in particular, we're very proud here in Bucksport of a growing and burgeoning partnership with your local school district. We provide the pre-K services here in the Bucksport school systems in collaboration with the Head Start program, and we're able to bring family coaches into the schools and additional services for pre-K children here in the Bucksport community. So we're very happy to do that. And as a matter of fact, Nicole Beers, the principal at the elementary school here, the Jewett School here in Bucksport, is a new incoming board members. We're populating our board with 30 board members from across the 3 counties that will be seated on our new board of directors at the end of the month of May. So there's a lot of activity happening with your Community Action Agency, but we're very pleased to serve the community of Bucksport with several services, again, including early care and education, energy and housing services, and aging services for this community. There's been a lot that has happened in the transition from Down East Community Partners to our agency, and I'm happy to present that to you at some other point in time, but for the purposes of this evening, I'm happy to take any questions for you. The last thing I will note is one of the changes in the transition of the agencies is the methodology in which we assess appropriations to our municipalities. Down East Community Partners used to base it on the year prior service to the community. We have adopted what we do in Aroostook County, which is to assess 40 cents per capita for your population, and we do that every decennial census. So the amount that we are asking this year will be the flat amount that we are asking until 2030, and then we will reassess at the decennial census in 2030. So at 40 cents per capita, based on your 2020 decennial census, that request is the amount that you have here before you this evening. Any questions I can answer for you? Thank you very much.
Thank you
for your time.
Absolutely. I believe is the Bucksport Area Child Care Center that is next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Corwin. I am the chair of the board of directors for Bucksport Area Child Care. I'm here to respectfully request funding in the amount of $4,000 to $6,000 to support essential improvements to our facility. These funds will be used to replace outdated and worn playground equipment, as well as to make necessary updates to classrooms and our overall building. These funds awarded by the town would help avoid the difficult decision to increase tuition in the next 2 years. Our center plays a vital role in supporting local families by providing safe, reliable, and nurturing care for young children. However, much of our current equipment and infrastructure has aged significantly. Significantly. There are some things about our building that haven't been updated since it was put on the property in the early 90s. Updating our playground equipment will ensure children have access to safe, engaging outdoor activities that promote physical development and well-being. Improvements to classrooms and building systems will enhance the quality of care, safety, and learning environment we provide every day to families in our community. Investing in early childhood facilities is an investment in the future of our community. Did you know that we have several children right now whose parents went to BACCC? So we're on our second generation of kids in the community, which is pretty phenomenal. It's something that we're really, really proud of. By supporting this request, the Town Council will help ensure that local children have access to a safe and enriching space during their most formative years, while also supporting working families who depend on our services. We sincerely appreciate your consideration and your continued commitment to the well-being of our community. Any questions?
I'm curious, do you guys participate in the Child Care Slots program, subsidy program?
Not yet. Working on it.
It's nothing, not relative
Yeah.
to this, I was just curious.
We don't. No, we there are a couple grants that we applied to last year. We were awarded one relatively small $1,200 one. It's not small, it's not chump change, but in the grand scheme of things for what we are looking to hopefully provide updates to, it was not significant enough for that. So, yeah.
I have just one question. How are your numbers this year compared to last year in terms of just head count?
Enrollment. So we're working on, because we were going through the process of hiring a new director, during that training process, we kind of scaled back on enrollment and we're working on gearing that back up again. So right now we have, and I'm going to give you ranges because some students are not all week students. So at any given day, we could have in our toddler classroom, we have 5 to 7. In our preschool/pre-K classroom, that's 3 to 5, we have 8 to 11. And in our school age right now, we have 13 students. So that school age is at the Miles Lane. So it does fall under technically a separate license, but still under BACCC. And that program is one that we are really looking and hoping to expand again back to its original capacity of 40. So, and that's our enrollment numbers right now. We hope to have a full 13 in the preschool, 13 children in the preschool, and a full 11 in our toddler program. So we're on our way to ramping back up to those full enrollment numbers.
Which is 40.
The 40 limit is for the after-school program, which falls under that separate license. Our center maximum is 45 to 50. So right now we have 2 active classrooms right now, looking to be able to, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles right now as far as the ages that we need to serve right now. So if you asked me last year, we had about 22 kids in preschool and 11 of them went to the pre-K at the Jewett School this past fall. So our enrollment numbers tend to shift from year to year just based off of demographic need. So, and recently we have rolled back our earliest enrollment age from 18 months to 12 months. So what that does is that makes sure that our ratio for per state requirements is 1 to 5 from 12 months to 3 years old. Previously we started at 18 months because we felt that toddler room of 3 and under, the range was too big for 12 months. It just didn't make sense. Now that we have what is essentially a spare classroom right now, because our preschool is so much smaller, they don't need to be in as big a classroom. We're looking to be able to expand to that 12-month range, which does open us up to about, I want to say 6 families that are already looking for care for their little ones, and they are not yet 18 months, which is what we would normally start care at.
Are there any other daycares in Bucksport that provide that level of care?
In Bucksport, no. I mean, just over the line is home. But they are also limited to the number of students that they can take with the size of their facility. And their nonprofit constraints as well. In Bucksport, no.
Okay.
It's us.
Yeah, I told you one question. I've had 2 more beyond that, and the last one, this one, I promise.
Yeah.
So depending on the day of the week, but you're averaging about 30 to 35 people.
Yeah. Yep.
Children total. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you do any fundraising?
We do try to do some. There's with our essentially we are just limited in bodies. We have a fairly small board. We have 5 members right now, and our staff already put in an incredible amount of time for our students. So we do some. We've done the children's area at the Bayfest previously. We have had a community yard sale the past 2 years. That was under the guide of our previous director, Julie. That was wonderful. So that does help. And then we also have been in the nonprofit area for Ghostport. We have focused the past couple years on a lot of curriculum at the school, and trying to keep, hopefully, our tuition prices as low as possible. So that's another struggle, is just making sure that we're able to pay our teachers the right amount, and then to keep our families from being forced to any undue burden.
Do you know off the top of your head how much you've raised in fundraising?
So, well, I can give you, I don't have a percentage off the top of my head, but I can tell you that when my son was 18 months old this time last year, and he started, the weekly rate was still like a really astounding $190 a week. And I say astounding because was incredibly low for the area. We had no choice once we lost our school age program due to staffing the year before. We also had no choice but to raise enrollments. We had just gotten ourselves into a hole that we were left with no choice. So currently, the standard rate for all day care for the week is $300, which again is on the low side. I think home is about the same, but they do have more support and flexibility as far as voucher rates. They're more subsidized than we are at the moment. And then if you looked in the Bangor area, I think 300 would be on the significantly low end. So we're hoping to not have to raise rates for as long as humanly possible, truly.
And the children that attend your program, these no special, they're not IEP dependent, tested, that just general public welcome.
Unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately right now we just don't have the staff capacity to provide any one-on-one care.
Okay.
So that does limit us in the care that we are able to provide. And when a family comes to us with any kind of special needs, we try our best to work with DHHS and state licensing to make sure that we are in a position to offer that care. And sometimes we are, and sometimes unfortunately we're not.
You're doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you speak to so you're talking about some equipment needs.
Mm-hmm.
So is this request more than you would typically expect to ask because of that, or is it more about programming that you're concerned about for funding?
We had previously in years past had only asked for about 2,000, and then in 24 and 25 we did, or 25, and for this year we had increased it again due to large equipment replacement issues, and I did scale it back, but I did want to make sure that even if we were to get a percentage of what we're requesting, that it would still cover some of the bigger items. For the older playground, one of our swing sets and slide combos succumbed to a tree over the winter, and so that's an issue. We don't have that aspect for the kids. Our shaded area, so we have kind of steel pipe gazebos up, but our tarps are in a rough shape. So to provide that shade and then dryness for rain. And then there's one wooden climbing structure in the toddler playground, which is smaller, made for smaller bodies. And that just needs to be, the boards need to be replaced. They're starting to dry rot and splinter awfully. So bigger goals with that as far as, and very specific goals.
Thank
All
you.
set? Thank you
Yes.
so much. Thank you for your time.
I guess I need to ask. Thank you for fundraising.
Okay. You wanna say that louder?
If I could, anybody who comes up to the podium, if they could let us know what you do for fundraising, if anything at all, and the amount you raise, that would be very helpful.
All right. Next up, I believe, is the Buck Memorial Library.
Good evening, I'm Doug Nalbach, most of you know who I am, president of Buck Memorial Library, and you're probably all thinking I can't hold this to less than 3 minutes. But, I've prepared a statement and I'm gonna read it so that I can do that. So I passed out a sheet highlighting what we feel to be some of our accomplishments in 2025 and to date this year. For those of you here tonight, Clint, our vice president, has copies of those for people in the audience that would like to look at them. And for those of you viewing remotely, out in the air, this is all posted on our website, all of these figures and so forth. So anything that I talk about, I'm not going to read this, and I'm not going to go over these things here tonight. Before I forget it, we do lots of fundraising for the library. I could give you a complete list at some further date, and I can give you a list of what it's raised too. But
That'd be great.
I didn't come with that tonight. But
If you could just send us
we
some-
try to have at least 3 or 4 events a year. And there again, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you do well. Most of the time we raise small amounts, but it's an effort. So, okay, that doesn't count in 3 minutes for the 3 minutes. Per your request, we reduced our ask for financial support from the town by 33%. Understanding that very, very likely will change. We very much value and appreciate your support, and the figures on the handout show that our community does too, you know, the use the library gets. We fully understand that the challenges our town is facing and really would like to help with that as we can and still do our thing. As a resident, I acknowledge the work you're all doing and the problems you're facing. So this is not just a here. As president of Board of Trustees of the Buck Memorial Library, I'm here to fulfill my fiduciary responsibilities. Just as you're responsible for the town coffers, I'm responsible for the library. So it's important that I be here and to present this to you and to have, you're looking out for the well-being of the town, and I'm trying to look out for the well-being of the library. Thank you for your support and consideration, and I hope you don't have any questions. But if you do, I'll try.
Questions for?
And Terry, I will get info for you.
Well, I know it comes up.
This way, next time I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do get asked, and hopefully you can just speak to so that people can understand the fact that how your funding works with your ability to, because you have an endowment, but you have a percentage.
Yes, and we have increased that. We have left a little wiggle room, which I've shared with a lot, which I have as a buffer. There again, being financially responsible. But we have, after our conversation here with some of you, we have upped it, and we will hope to, you know, be able to stay. But we have used it, and we continue to use it, and we've taken more. And we're fortunate, but we have to manage that too. We don't want to end up with having a large fund all of a sudden disappear. And it's really not. For me, I could say, go ahead and spend it, because I'm not going to be around in 10 years, but I would just as soon have my legacy be that I've done all I could do for the institution and it was financially responsible. Not 10 years from now, we could be broke, but it isn't probably gonna matter to me, but it will matter to the community. So, did that answer your question?
What's the current level of the endowment?
I'll get that for you.
2.7 million-ish.
Not seven, I don't believe it's not
It's
seven.
your last 990, that's all. It was
Yeah,
around that.
yeah, I think she provided that to you, so,
How much was that?
over 2.
2 million?
Mhm.
In the endowment?
Which has been grown, that has been worked hard and grown at over a long, long period of time. So as I said, the fiduciary responsibility is to not just burn through $9 million or whatever you happen to have in a slush fund and then end up on the, so we're trying to use that and balance it out, so.
I got a bunch,
You got a bunch? Oh, my God.
and it's around the numbers. And I reviewed your statistics when you were here a few weeks ago. You gave
Yep.
us all the statistics, and it came down to Bucksport. With the number of registered patrons, Bucksport's about 55% of those, Orland is 21%, Verona's about 6%, and then the numbers drop from there. So what I'm struggling with, Doug, is last year, we're looking at Verona, from the best of my reading, came up with $2,000 for the library. Town of Orland came in with about 2,500, and the town of Bucksport came in with about 30,000.
Right.
And we all here in front of us tonight have your 990 tax form being a nonprofit. And in 2024, your total revenue, it turns out that net assets, including the library, which the building itself, which at the time was valued at about $420,000, the net assets were just under $2.8 million. And there was a revenue of $283,000 with expenses of only $142,000. So therefore your net income was about $141,000. And so the endowment is, you take money out, I understand, and any good financial advisor will say, yeah, you can go up to 4%, you may want to stretch it to 5%. A conservative investor will be down in that area, but you're still taking money out at the same time while it grows. And it, on the 990 form, it indicated that prior year, you had been at 2.5 million total, then it jumped up to 2.7, and investment income went from 130,000 up to 179,000. So this is a very difficult year for us, and with the numbers that I'm seeing and having zero liabilities with the kind of revenue, you see where I'm coming from.
And
This is where I'm struggling with.
Yep, and I understand. We're at 4.2 now, and nonprofits, the top is 5% for, if you want to, sustainability, as you point out, between 4 and 5.
Now, your director last year, so keep going, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right. So we have upped that, as you say. The thing is, sometimes, that the value, because of our investments too, and I struggle with this because a lot of it is on any given day or any given year when you look at our portfolio. And I mean, it can change. Of course, with that size portfolio, you can, a 10% drop is pretty significant. I mean, so the figures, the numbers that you look at don't always remain the same, but yes, we are financially sound, but as I say, we're trying to manage that and to the best of our ability and do the right thing, and
As I went through the number of people you
Yep.
have,
And to point
Full-time
out
and
something else,
volunteers.
you kind of asked me a couple of questions at once. Now I'm way over 3 minutes.
No, we're asking questions.
No,
now.
we're
You're
asking
Oh,
questions.
Pressure's off then. The other municipalities that you mentioned are an ongoing issue for us, the board. And we are trying to address the numbers from some of these other communities that also have the use of the library, as Bucksport does. And we've also reached out to a couple of the other communities, Prospect, and some of the other communities, to see now that their numbers of people using the library from out of town. And we're trying to come up with some equitable way. And we've written letters, gotten very little response, and we're gonna explore, other ways to try and make this.
Are you looking at things like, back to Councilman Dottie's point about fundraising, I understand that library cards are free, charging per library card, people that don't get things back in a timely manner, some sort of a fee associated with that. I mean, that's just a little bite out of the elephant. I realize the kind of money that you're looking for.
Yeah,
but,
that's a
your
real,
programs-
the fundraising is a little different. The charging for cards and so forth can become both an administrative issue, because we rely a lot on volunteer help and we don't really want to lay a lot of extra things on those. Plus, some people would find it a drain. If you have a family we have people who come in with 3 children and borrow 30 books at a time. And this is what really costs us. And to be able to ask, some of these people, oh, now you're gonna have to pay, is, it gets kind of dicey anyway, Paul. It's kind of a, even the fundraising, as you've mentioned, Terry, it's negligible. It really is in the big picture. When a book costs us now over $20 a piece for any book, and your community can borrow, and somebody can come in and borrow 20 books at a time, that's a lot of value. And so, so even our fundraising efforts we work hard at them, but they're not really a game changer, I'll put it that way. You make $500 at a yard sale or something and we continue to do it and have plans to do 3 or 4 this year.
Do you know if the Ellsworth Library charges to use?
I'm not sure about that right now. I know several years ago, they went through something similar to where and they are a municipal, thank you, Terry. Katie, they're a municipal library, but I believe a few years ago, they went through an issue with some towns that, it might have been Hancock or Sullivan, don't quote me on that, but people using their library who were not, their towns weren't coughing up any money. And we're trying to get to some of that with, as I say, Prospect and some, we've sent letters to 2 or 3 of the towns. And they're slow to respond, I guess, would be a nice way to put it. But if they don't respond well, we may have to look at other options for those people. So that's all I can tell you at this point. We've certainly talked about it at length, but that's as far as it's gone. I guess I might as well say it. Does anybody else have any questions?
Took the words right out of my mouth. Anybody else have any?
Thank you, Doc.
Appreciate it, Doug.
Thank you very much.
And I peeked ahead, but yep, I was right. Senior Center, Mr. Foster.
Hello, my name is Bill Foster. I'm the director of the Bucksport Area Senior Center. I first want to say thank you, Mayor and fellow councilors and town manager. Thank you for giving me and everyone in this room an opportunity to speak tonight.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that very much. I believe you all received our application and have that information in front of you. So do you have, after reading that, do you have any questions for me or anything about the senior center that you want to know?
Fundraising?
Well, we're doing, I don't know if you know about the senior center too much, but we have had a big change in the last year. And one of those changes was we used to have the school make all of our meals for us. And we lost that last June. So one of the things that we've done, well, we've done a couple of different things to change for that. But Eastern Area Agency is providing our meals on Monday. They don't provide anybody to cook those meals. So I have become a cook. And so has, and we've got a couple of volunteers that cook the meals for us on that. So part of our fundraising that we also have to do goes to them. It used to be with a school that we charge, and it had gone up over the price, paying for an employee, paying for food, things like that. We climbed over the years. At the very end, just before our partnership ended, we were up to $10 a meal. Eastern Area Agency asks us, even though that's a federally funded program, and there's a, I don't want to get into all the, but back in 1972, there was the Older Americans Act, and that funds all Meals on Wheels programs. It's federally funded dollars that gets funneled through different programs, and the state of Maine, the 5 area agencies control that money. They're the gatekeeper, and they don't give us any money, but they give us the meals. So that's how those are provided. But they don't give us a cook, and they don't give us any of those things. But we ask for the meal as a suggested donation for $7. So some of the funds that we raise have to go back to Eastern Area Agency. Funds that we can raise for ourselves, you guys are, this is our biggest fundraiser. Coming to ask for money for you, coming to ask for money from Orland, coming to ask for money for Verona. We have different craft fairs we've decided to start doing over the past couple of years to make up some money there. Donations.
What do you get in donations? Oh, sorry.
I'll let Terry finish her thought and then Councilor Harris next.
Do you know what you get as far as like some of the fundraisers that you do, how much you do raise? Or have you had raised and found?
I can't tell you that number off the top of my head because I don't have it memorized, but it is in your packet. That number that we have put in our budget, and that's collected, like I said, over different things that people have given us. Private donations. We have a little jar that when people come in, we have an activity fee for the day. So people pay $1 for that activity fee. It carries them the whole day if they're there in the morning to exercise. If they stay for bingo, the $1 goes to the whole day. But that number is in your pack. I don't know off the top of my head.
1,877.
Yep. So that's.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to make a point. I noticed with your application that the town of Bucksport provides well over 80% of the funding for the senior center. And when we're looking at fundraising, we also have to look at cost avoidance as an income. So the seniors who are using the service, combating rural isolation and loneliness, those types of experiences for people usually end up in public safety calls. And those are much more expensive systems than providing sort of a service to people to prevent those. So if just to sort of keep in mind, the fundraising question is important, but also there's some cost avoidance components to some of these services, that it's far cheaper for the town and better for our citizens as well to have an experience of social gathering than being isolated and leaning on our most expensive systems, which we've all seen the budget is public safety. So I just wanted to sort of
well, in one,
level set that.
I mean, not to rain on our own parade, which I don't want to do because I'm up here trying to make the senior center look great. But one thing that was very devastating with us losing the school, and not to knock Eastern Area Agency, because it's great that we were able to, I tried to pivot as much as I could. And just like if we don't get the budget that we're going to ask, I'm going to have to pivot again and find that money someplace else. I don't mind doing it. That's my job. I'm a taxpayer in this town. I know how hard it is for you guys to have to try to keep those taxes down. I'd like my taxes to stay down too. I also work for a population that they want their taxes to come down too. They're some of the ones that are yelling at you the most. But one thing we lost is it's congregate food only. So all the food that we make, people have to come, because part of the program is to congregate and socialize. But one thing that was nice when we were able to deliver meals is we would go to people's homes. Our drivers would be there 3 days a week, and they would see people. And it was just a way to check in on them. They didn't have to and weren't supposed to, but they often did. Our volunteers were great. And, you know, they'd clean a cat box, they'd change a roll of paper towels, they'd do a lot of different things for those people in the homes. And sadly, that is one thing that we did lose. We have, now that the meal there's no barriers to it, it's just a donation that they ask. We have seen more people come into the senior center, which is nice, because it is the idea to socialize and congregate. And if you're, you know, most of the people that we have some people that are married, but most of them are widows and live alone. So coming to the center is very important to them, because otherwise they don't see people. I mean, that socialization piece is very key. And on Fridays, to make up what we lost, we have this program, I call it Takeout Friday. And we partner with local restaurants. And every Friday we go to a different restaurant and we bring the food in. Again, we can't deliver. We're not Grubhub. So we have the food there. And it's another chance for people to come socialize and have a meal. And it's something that I didn't cook. So not to knock Michelle or Eastern Area Agency. The food is very good, but it's nice to have something from a local restaurant every once in a while, because, hey, we all like to eat out. And we hope the partnership, the idea, just like we had the partnership with the school, the idea is that we're hopefully helping Bucksport and Verona and Orland, because we do order from restaurants out there, help their economy a little bit, because they give us a little bit of a deal on the food, but we also get them a steady stream of customers.
What do Verona and Orland contribute to the senior center?
Again, I don't have that number memorized, but it is in your packet.
Yeah,
It's much less than Bucksport, like Councilor Harris said.
754, sorry to interrupt you, Bill, 750 for Orland and 225 for Verona is what you've listed.
And then can you comment on, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying Bucksport makes up about $6,000 of their $8,000 expense budget.
And there are expenses that we've had to pick up this year, because the school did cover a lot of those things. I mean, there was supplies that they were ordering for us that, you know, just kind of everyday things that we've now had to kind of pick up and take on. You would be surprised at how much toilet paper we use up there. But things like that they add up quick. It adds up quick, so. And you are literally flushing it down the toilet. But,
can you comment at all, or maybe it's a sore subject you don't want to get into, but why did the RSU walk away from allowing you to cook in the kitchen?
Just like you guys are finding yourself in a position where money is tight, we were no longer able to keep them afloat. We were costing them money. They had their employee costs, because they had an employee that cooked the food for us. That employee cost went up, and price of food went up dramatically. So when I first started there, I can't remember, it was 8 or 9 years ago, but the superintendent came to me like after the first week and he said, we're gonna have to go up $1 on the meals. And I said, what have I done? I've only been here 2 weeks. How could I have messed up this badly in 2 weeks? But he said, it's just that. And we went up and we went up. We started out at $6, and at the very end, we were up to $10. And we just couldn't cover it. And the problem too, not only were we up to $10, but they were trying to cut the quality of the food down to try to keep costs. So we were going from things like, we were having pot roast and things like that customers really liked, down to sandwiches. And so if you ask somebody to pay $7 for pot roast, but now you want them to pay $10 for a sandwich, you know, that's not gonna work. So not only we had to raise the price, but customers weren't wanting to stay. They weren't willing to pay $10 for a sandwich. So.
How do you plan now for the meals that you cook there and the takeout meals, like ahead of time?
Well, Eastern Area Agency, we have to get a 3-month calendar. So we take a look at what meals they have to offer, and we get to kind of pick and choose. We found some that we like and some that no, we never want again. So we make sure not to pick those ones. And we get a 3-month calendar, and they send the food to us usually a week ahead. We have to store it and then get it. And then on Monday, Michelle and Julie and I cook the food. We have volunteers that help us serve, just like we used to have serve food, wash the dishes, and do all that stuff. I usually try to go a couple weeks ahead on the takeout Fridays, go around and ask the businesses if they. Most of the businesses in Bucksport, we've only had a couple that have said no, but most of them realize that what this is for, and they're willing to get us a meal that's a little bit. We asked for that $8 because that's where we were with the school, where it seemed to be, that was the number that was not too high for people. So we stuck to that $8. We get an $8 meal from people, and I usually try to go, like I said, a couple weeks ahead so that we know. I take the orders throughout the week. I let everybody know. I've got to know by Wednesday, so I give the restaurant plenty of time. So usually the Wednesday before that Friday meal, I call the restaurant and say, this is how many people we have. And then on Friday, I bring them an envelope of money, and they give me the food, and I take it back. So that's how we do that. Any other questions?
No.
Good, all right. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Bill, you mentioned them a couple times, and the next group up is the Eastern Area Agency on Aging. Yep.
Well, I try to take care of my friends.
We're not going in alphabetical order.
Have I missed somebody?
I yield the
I am
floor.
very easily good at.
It's next in honors.
It's next in our packet.
It's next in our packet. I apologize.
okay.
Yep.
I think it's
Have at it.
robotics.
No, it's
Is that good?
Dan.
Well, yep, and then I'll assess after. Please come on.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
Yep.
Good evening. I want to reiterate what Bill said. Thank you for this opportunity. I think this is the third or fourth time I've been able to present to the council, and I really appreciate the support that the city or the town of Bucksport provides our agency. My name is Christopher Hill. I'm the Communications and Development Director for Eastern Area Agency on Aging. As you know, we are a nonprofit that serves Penobscot, Piscataquis, Washington, of course, Hancock County, with a variety of needs, things like nutrition assistance, Meals on Wheels program, congregate dining, as we talked about, supplemental food programs, like our commodity supplemental food boxes. We have a pet food program that is highly sought after with our demographic. Information assistance, Medicare counseling, things that pertain to our older community members. Usually, how I like to present is share a little bit about the work that had gone on in the previous fiscal year. So in fiscal year 25, we served 198 Bucksport residents with over nearly 1,500 units of service. These are 2,000 furry friends pet food kits that we handed out, 368 congregate dining meals, 328 supplemental food boxes, nearly 1,000 home delivered meals. Just the ability for an older community member to call in and regardless of what that issue is, talk to a resource specialist and get the information that they need. 272 calls for information assistance and nearly $40,000 in Medicare savings to our consumers. So we're really proud of the figures that we were able to do. You asked about fundraising. As the Communications and Development Director, we try to make it a robust fundraising plan. We have a part-time grant writer that is always scouring for grants for our programs. As we have in the budget, we are federally and state funded, as Bill had mentioned. We do campaigns, things like Meals on Wheels campaigns, campaigns for our Furry Friends Food Bank, things to try to lean on our individual donors and steward our individual donors along and appeal to the community. And of course, municipal funding is a big part of that as well. So I appreciate, as I said, the opportunity, and I appreciate how difficult these decisions that you're making are. And, we consider ourselves partners to serve the community regardless of what your decision is. So I'm happy to answer any questions as I can, but thrilled to be here with you tonight.
Still, any questions?
Does Good Shepherd send any trucks in your direction?
Good Shepherd is a partner for commodity supplemental food boxes. So we partner with them, and they put our food boxes together, and then we help distribute them.
So how do you regulate that? Who's to say one person doesn't go pick up a box and then leave and then go and get?
We have people that, we have like a roster of folks, and we have, in our distribution sites, we will check them off. They have to provide certain pieces of information, so there are safeguards in place. I can't necessarily speak to, the nitty gritty. In my position, I'm not like necessarily the boots in the ground individuals, but we do have people that are safeguarding and kind of auditing those lists to make sure that the people that are picking up the boxes are the people that are on the lists. And there's constant reassessments of those programs as well.
Okay, and, sorry, and you're asking $1,500?
$1,500, yes.
So, in the fundraising, wouldn't be able to raise $1,500 if you were to do,
It says in their thing they raised 382,000.
well, I mean, but they're asking $1,500 from here, so they can raise another $1,500, I guess.
I mean, certainly, say again?
I caution us to get into the programmatic operations of the nonprofits, just in our questioning part, because I think it's sort of some things, it's sort of a.
No, I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is it's such a low number that may be able to be recouped on like a couple fundraiser type deal.
I mean, that's certainly the hope, right? Like the hope is that we can.
That's why I asked. So
Yeah, there's certainly the hope that we can rate. I'm always striving to find new donors, new events, and things like that. For us, we had a conversation internally about rescinding our ask because, like we do, as you see in our fundraising, we do have various modes of fundraising. However, what we're finding is, for our Meals on Wheels, for instance, we have a wait list of anywhere from 200 to 300 people. So right now, our current funding doesn't meet the need that's in the community. So our fear is if we're still we're kind of where we're at right now, we're still trying to claw to get ourselves to where we're at. So if we kind of even 1,500, let's say, we take a step back, that's $1,500 more that we've got to try to, make up that ground. So certainly, like in the grand scheme of things, there's a likelihood that we could get to that point, but we're trying, as an individual mentioned before, we're trying to fiduciarily, I'm not even sure that's a word, but fiduciarily, I'll say it, trying to kind of, take care of ourselves and look out and try to serve our community members.
Are you all receiving any federal or state money funding? And if so, is that staying equal or are you losing it?
So federally, it's flat funded. That we're still kind of waiting for that money to come through. State funding, I don't know how official this is. I believe that there's going to be an allocation of a one-time state allocation of $3 million for the Older Mainers Act, which is LD 814. I think that is being recommended, but it's not official yet. So there's some hope, but nothing's official at this point.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Mayor, if I could,
Yes.
just a logistical thing, there are, I believe, 3 agencies or entities that you won't have funding applications for in your packet. So the first is the Family Snowmobile Club. That is a direct pass-through from the state that the town passes on to the Snowmobile Club for registration fees done here in the office. The second is the high school robotics amount. That is, back in, I believe, 2023, the council voted to appropriate $5,000 per year for a period of 5 years for the robotics club. And the other one is Hancock County Habitat for Humanity. That was the kind of the pilot program for home accessibility repairs for senior citizens that Habitat for Humanity has kind of ran while the town funded. So I don't know if there's anybody here from those agencies that want to speak tonight, but I just, like I said, if you're going through your packet, those are not going to be included in that.
Gotcha.
Is Habitat still doing the home accessibility program?
They are doing it to an extent. There's also a program through Hancock County, I believe, that provides a similar level of service, but that is driven by, there's income requirements, age requirements, and there's certain projects, home repair projects, but I think maybe a little bit more strict.
But when we first approved that was with ARPA money.
That is correct.
which is no longer, we
That
can't,
is
we can't
correct.
use that.
That's why you are seeing it for the first time in the operating budget.
I think with that one, it would be important to hear, because they've had a change in leadership, so it'd be good to see what their plan is moving forward, if that's still work that they're doing before we even have any discussion about that particular one. And I don't see Brooke here tonight, but
Because I know
I'm
the,
not sure if they're doing that even, I don't know.
I know the first year we appropriated 15,000, and the year after that, they had well that more
They had
than
a lot.
half left.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no money left. I've asked that question.
They've used it all.
Yeah. So anything moving forward would need to be funded through this process.
You might recall last year, there was sort of a partnership with BBHCC and Habitat, and so that's why I'm sort of a little unclear if that program's still happening without hearing from them directly.
Like I said, I think that there is a version of
Of it,
this.
and-
It might not be exactly what we were doing, but if there is a version of this, it is probably worth just, allowing them to kind of do their program that's already established and already funded. And this was more or less a pilot program that I think Councilor Morrison at the time was, vocal about doing something in this realm. So I'd be happy to reach out to them and see, learn more about the logistics of the other program that's already in existence.
If there's one that already exists, I guess we don't, I
Yeah.
was just not sure, that's all.
So at the beginning of the meeting, I did promise alphabetical order, so we will go back in the alphabet just a little bit, and I believe that would be the robotics team from Bucksport High School.
I found out about this meeting about an hour ago. Well, I guess not anymore, but so Seth LaPlante, I'm here representing 6329, the Bucks Wrath. I'm the media and marketing mentor. The team is currently in Vermont at UVM at competition today. That starts tomorrow. And I would like to ask you to continue to support 6329. As it provides a top-notch opportunity for our students to be recognized and compete on the world stage. Over the past month, the team has rebuilt this year's robot, and tomorrow morning, we expect to be in the top 1% in the world. If we're not in the top 5, I will eat this hat. We'll be to it, Mark.
I know where you, well, I was gonna say I know where you live, I know where you work.
Okay, yeah, you do. This team gives so much to the students involved in the program and also to the community, and helps to raise the aspirations of our students, and not just the students involved in robotics, but in the entire high school and also all the lower levels as they interact with the lower levels in the off season. We're building a generation of students like my son and Jen's son and this group of boys that just happen to be at UMaine living all together right now, all engineering majors, that are entering the STEM field at the top of their field with the experience that sets them above. And I hope someday there's something here for them to come back and engineer. And they want to come back and provide for this community. And yeah, I guess thank you, for this years of support, and to me, it's a worthwhile thing to support, and the town should continue to do so. Yeah.
Questions?
Yep. Go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. And I know you just learned of this meeting, so I don't mean to put you on the spot, but could you, in a broad historical sense, talk to how this team has performed since its inception on the world stage?
Yep. So this is our 10th year. We're the 6,329th team in FRC. And over that time, we've done nothing but grow. Until the past 3 years, we've spent much of the year in the top 10 in the world out of approximately 4,000 teams. teams in Israel, teams in Turkey, teams all over the world, and also competing against schools that are engineering high schools. The top teams are typically connected to things like WPI or Silicon Valley, and then there's Bucksport. And this, yes, so our first competition was week 1 this year, and we were in the top 5 that day, sometimes at the top in scoring, sometimes at the very top, and so the game changes as the season goes on, and so we're no longer in that top 10. But we have competition that starts tomorrow, and like I said, the redesign of the robot that we've done over the past month, we expect will probably be ranked #1 for part of the weekend in the world.
Excellent. Last question from me anyway. What is required to be a member of the robotics team?
Time. And so robotics, for a lot of schools or a lot of teams, the students do pay to be a part of it, and part of our mission is to never have a Bucksport student have to pay to be part of the robotics team beyond buying their t-shirts and food at competitions. We want to offer that opportunity to everybody in the community and not just to elite few. And that is different than a majority of the FRC teams. Yeah.
But you have a broad spectrum of, I'll frame it up for you. You have people, or excuse me, young adults on this team who have done no other activities while in school. You have people on this team who, or did at one time anyway, I'm thinking of one person in particular who left Bucksport High School as the leading scorer in multiple sports also on this team.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a diverse group.
range of, okay.
Yeah, it's a very diverse group. Students who struggle and students who are the top scorer and the top engineering prospect in town. And while I keep mentioning engineering, my media team, for example, I have a student who's now providing media for other places, has gotten like internships for providing Instagram feeds and things like that. And it's not just engineering. It's a broad program. It's like we run a business or a sports team, and there's so many aspects of it. Fundraising, all the students do the majority of the fundraising through requests of local businesses and family members, and the school also provides some of the funding.
I watched your program when you all went to Falmouth, and there was some very significant corporate sponsors that came up. Do the corporate sponsors, any of that trickle down to the Northeast region all the way to Bucksport, or is that?
A little bit, but for most of those corporate sponsors, there's a circle that they'll sponsor within. And so since we are not within the circle of Google or BAE or Boeing, like, it's, they want to support their communities and provide that way. And so we do, we have West Coast Products sponsors us because we're a top team and they're from out west and they make robotics parts. But that,
so like international companies like Dow and others that were listed as part of the. So I was just curious.
Yeah. And I haven't been involved necessarily in reaching out for that, and it's about the capacity of the volunteers. And so I was working in the past years. I stepped back a little bit this year. I was probably working 60 hours a week for robotics during robotics season. Because that's what I wanted to do. And so just having the capacity to find time to write a grant when the people are teachers and coaches and other things as well. And so it's,
I don't know if you want me to speak. It's okay to add some content.
Please.
Knowing that the team was going to be traveling, I did speak to John Boynton, who's their lead mentor. He shared that they need $90,000 a year to run the program. And that's actually, I mean, there are teams that have hundreds of thousands of dollar budgets, so Bucksports is a tight one. They need 90,000 and they raise 70 of it. So they're getting, in addition to the 5 that they ask for from the town, they're raising $65,000 every year, and it takes all of it every year for the travel, the robot itself. And you have to pay to be in the competitions as well.
Yes, there's, fees for being part of FRC.
But that's not picked up by the team, the player,
No, the
players.
No, no, no.
participants don't,
No,
they
but-
don't pay
yeah,
anything,
yeah.
no.
Yes, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're gonna keep working our way back. I believe next is Bucksport Community Concerns.
Well, good evening. I submitted my budget, you all have that, and you noticed the letter that I sent. And before I go into that, the council asked me a breakdown of Bucksport residents that use the pantry. And as you see, we have 378 individuals, 173 adults, 83 adults, 111 children, 84 seniors plus a couple, and 756 people we fed Bucksport. Our total people that we fed this year was 1,356, and we did it with 34,336 pounds of food, both raised and donated. And on the rest of the items on there, you'll see that we do just more than food. We provided 35 brand new coats to adults, 37 brand new coats to kids plus hats. We supplied $15 gift certificate for 52 people for Thanksgiving. And then we had someone donate us 50 turkeys, so they went too. But on the other page, I didn't put in there that Bucksport High School Honor Society brought us down 60 turkeys. So we had turkeys for Christmas for everybody. And we do Christmas meals, Christmas for kids. We supply 125 particular gifts that the child wants. And then we have a bunch of smaller gifts that they can use to fill in their stockings and things. And when Paul was down there Wednesday
morning.
we had a good time with him. But we had something really wonderful happening. Widows Sons Temple Guard, it's Masonic Writers Association, I don't know where they're out of it, brought us down a brand new double refrigerator and freezer.
Double door.
All right, and brought it in and hooked it up. But should have stayed longer, maybe we could have got them to stock it. But outside, that was really great. And then we also get Reach School comes down, and those kids are amazing. They are friendly, polite, and they carry out the food for anybody that needs help, which a lot of them do, because I can't help. And we all operate on volunteers. There's 20 volunteers, including the talking shop. So and I did lower my budget down, and I think we can make it. And if not, we'll just figure out another fundraiser. And our fundraisers are, everybody's looking at you for that.
I asked.
The Bucksport Methodist Church do 2 fundraisers for us on their breakfast. I don't know if you ever been to their breakfast, but it's really exceptional. And all the proceeds from that breakfast goes to one day to the community concern. And then the last one of the year goes into our heating system. That all that money is raised, it's usually around $1,200 they give us that we raise for that. And that's a community, people that need heat, electric, or whatever. If we can provide it, we'll help them. Any question?
You just started doing craft fairs over at the church?
No, that's not anything to do with us.
No, that's nothing, okay.
No.
Please.
I did pay I'd never been there, so I paid a visit to them this past Wednesday. Some stuff that, Raymond here is being a bit modest, but, they, down there at the facility, they open on, Monday nights for a very short time and only on Wednesdays during the day from 9:30 to 11 o'clock. That's all they do. And the people that visit down there, they're allowed to make one visit a month. And out of all these 20 volunteers, each person has a station. And it's very well coordinated how they go through, pick up their things and so forth. And I went through the entire facility, and yes, they have adult and children's winter coats, not retreads. These are brand new, got the tags on them. This gentleman here has bought some of them himself to stack the rack with. There's a whole bunch of volunteers. Then after that, they have personal goods and toilet papers, and these people have pets. There's pet food when it's available. And then you go through and so forth, through the entire thing. And it was amazing. The other thing is, people think that it's associated with the church. He actually rents the building from the church,
Right.
pays a rent every month, pays his own electric, pays his own telephone. They provide the heat. He gets a lot of money from Swap and Shop next door. They pay their own rent. They pay the electricity. They pay the phone. So they're dealing a lot of things. I have to tell you, I just, the other day I was in there, there must have been a new woman came in. I mean, she was in tears, the amount of food she was able to take out of there. I mean, in desperate need. What they don't have over there is a lot of the food gets delivered. Good Shepherd provides food, the Hannafords and so forth over here. And the money they raise also from Shop and Swap, I hope I'm getting that name right.
Talking Shop.
That goes into their program too. So there's a lot of things going on, but they're very well organized, and it's, one person, one day a month, as opposed up here to home. They've got a van, they can go out and solicit from Hannaford's and Bucksport, Ellsworth, go to Shaw's and Bangor, collect things. They're limited on here what they can do. They do get a little bit of federal money, but the feds are cutting back this year, so going to make it even tighter on Raymond. So anyway, thank you for listening, but I thought a few more details of what they do and how they achieve it. It's pretty impressive, so thank you, Raymond.
Well, any more questions?
Your breakfasts are once a month, twice a month,
Second Saturday of the month.
second Saturday.
$10 for all you can eat.
Anybody's welcome.
And, no, it's $12 for anybody can eat. They raised it. But, anybody can come in. And they start feeding at 6:15 until 9:30, I think. So. You wanna all come?
I've been. It's a good breakfast.
I'm there almost every month.
Anything else?
Oh, thank you, Raymond.
The grocery store pickups they're managed through contracts through Good Shepherd. So Good Shepherd decides which food pantries can access the grocery store rescue as part of a big sort of statewide distribution plan.
Yeah.
I have public comment in support of robotics. I don't know if you're waiting on public comment or if you're doing it.
I was going to give
Okay.
you
That's
a
what we're-
little bit at the end of, okay. Do we have anybody here from the Snowmobile Club? That's okay, I just wanna make sure I'm not skipping anybody anymore. Families First Community Center.
Good evening, counselors, and good evening to everybody here. My name is Joe Seavey. I am representing Families First. We have our building, our main building is in right near Sunrise Glass in Ellsworth, right on North Street. We have 7 units, and that is to assist primarily, not always single mothers with children, to teach them how to get their lives back together. And it's I've been there for a little over a year, and it's been a really good experience. Other than that, I am retired, but I really enjoy it. And I am not a fundraiser. I actually do maintenance on the building. That's what I was hired for. The senior persons of the center were not able to make it tonight. So this is my second town meeting this week. The other being the thriving metropolis of Mariahville, and that worked out pretty well for us. So I don't know where this money would go to, as they're asking for $1,500. I know that we have had we've had several $1,000s in basement repairs, masonry repairs that was really critical to get done. We do have some drainage issues, and I'm sure that will, I've got to get some estimates on that. So we're very careful about spending the money, and it's very, a lot of it is actually comes to many folks here in Bucksport, as I have just learned this afternoon, that we are assisting folks here. So it is not just way over in Ellsworth, it's Hancock and Washington counties. There's do a significant outreach and along with the units. So thank you for your time and consideration. Do you have any questions for me?
Just have some questions. Is your assistance to Bucksport residents as like case management? Is that more the service that's?
I would think so. This does a little better job of explaining that. I can get those details for you if you wish. So, anybody else?
We're good. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Friends in Action.
Hi, my name is Michaela. I'm the Executive Director at Friends in Action. We are a nonprofit that serves really, I want to say seniors, but people 55 and up in all of Hancock County. We are housed in the Moore Center in Ellsworth. We have been a nonprofit for 23 years. And we happily serve Bucksport residents, of course. I won't talk a lot about the senior center. We have a lot of really exciting things that go on there, very valuable things that is in Ellsworth, but I know Bill has that covered over here. So what the people in Bucksport look to us for primarily is transportation. So we have a network of volunteers. We are completely volunteer-based when it comes to our transportation. They provide rides. And what I'm seeing in Bucksport, we have about 42 seniors that actively call us for rides. That's not the total amount in our system that could call us, it's just who's currently utilizing us. And what they seem to call us the most for is either coming to Ellsworth to dialysis or getting their big trips to Bangor. So if they have a surgery, if they have a specialist appointment, things like that, that's where we're meeting their need. That's what they're calling us for. And to put that into perspective, I like to think about the fact that most of us and everybody here in this room have somebody to call if we are having a surgery, if we're having a scary appointment, if we're going to see a specialist. That's not the reality for these people. So we are the people that show up to get them where they need to be on a day that's really important to them. So I love being able to serve them. They're incredibly grateful. I can think of at least 6 of them that send us the cutest thank you cards to the office all the time. So it's a great service. I think our volunteers are amazing, and we're really happy to provide it. I didn't know I was speaking today, but I'll give you the fundraising that you asked about because I happen to have it right here.
Thank you.
So last year we were able to get $90,000 in grants, about $130,000 in general donations, and $52,000 in the events that we do. So we have 2 events that we consistently do every year. This year, you know, it's my first year as the ED, so I have some new things coming down the line, but that's what I can tell you is typical for us. So we did ask for $1,500, but we brought it down to $750 to try to be fair with the budget and what everybody's dealing with right now. It's a hard time for anybody to get money, I know. So, does anybody have questions for me?
We're good.
I got off easy. Okay, thank you.
Is the fort here? I know they've changed their.
They pulled their request.
Right, okay, I just want to make sure that. I don't want to assume. There. Is anyone here from the Habitat for Humanity? I want to make sure again. Yeah. All right, believe next is Home. Operator.
Have some information if Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here and letting Home present. My name is Rosalani Moore, and I currently serve as the Executive Director at Home. We're a rural nonprofit that has served Hancock and Washington counties for more than 55 years. Home was built by this region to ensure that when crisis strikes, no one is left without a place to turn. Today, we operate 56 emergency shelter beds in Hancock County, along with food pantries, a soup kitchen, firewood bank, a thrift store, food rescue lines, and homeless prevention and diversion services. Together, these programs form a coordinated crisis response system designed to stabilize individuals and families and help them move back toward permanent housing. In 2025, Bucksport residents directly accessed home services in meaningful ways. 52 individuals accessed free clothing, winter coats, and essential resources. Food boxes supported over 270 individuals. 4 individuals accessed homeless shelter and housing navigation services, representing about $36,400 in costs. Our food rescue line was accessed over 4,490 times. Our soup kitchen served over 360 meals. 11 families accessed homeless diversion assistance, which represents approximately $8,800 in support to prevent homelessness. 4 families accessed our firewood bank, and 1 accessed hardship funds when facing urgent needs. We provide affordable housing for 7 families, individuals and families here in Bucksport, and about a quarter of our 44 staff come from Bucksport. These numbers represent real people in our community, neighbors who at a moment of crisis needed support to stay safe, fed, and housed. As a former guest in our shelter, I know firsthand how important it is to have resources like Home present when crisis occurs. Having a safe space to land made all the difference to me and being able to move forward while supporting my younger siblings. Across our system, 204 individuals were sheltered in 2025, totaling more than 18,000 bed nights. What we are seeing now is that people are staying longer because housing is becoming harder to find. As rents rise, vouchers disappear, and housing availability shrinks. Even working families struggle to secure stable housing when the need arises, and Home is one of the only shelters in our area to provide shelter for families with children. Providing this level of care in just our shelter program costs about $100 per bed night, and our shelters operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, so that when a crisis happens, there's somewhere safe for people to go. Our budget is about $2.4 million. $1.1 million of that is fundraising. For the shelter program itself, we receive about $205,000 from the state, and it costs about $1.5 million to run our shelter program. That leaves us to fundraise about 95% of the cost of the shelter program itself.
Mr. Mayor, 3 minutes.
Would you like me to finish, or
How much do you have?
just a couple paragraphs? But
To be fair, you've given us stuff that we can read, but I would like to open it up to questions though.
I don't have questions. I have a sort of more of a thought process. Again, cost avoidance. So for homeless, so say 4 people from Bucksport in a homeless shelter, this isn't, we have the cost anyway as a town. We would have to pay general assistance, or we would have to pay a hotel for Bucksport residents who are experiencing homelessness if we did not have a shelter. So it'd be far more expensive for us to assume our own homeless service response as a town. The cost is ours anyway by state law. So I just wanted to sort of put that into perspective as numbers when we're sort of thinking about food services and homeless services. The way general assistance is set up in the state is that we would have to put somebody in a hotel who's experiencing homelessness in our town. We don't have to do that because we have a shelter that does that. And so I just wanted to sort of put that into perspective. What's your average length of stay nowadays?
in 2025, it was about 91 days.
So 91 days times 91 hotel rooms is the math for like one person. So I just want councilors to sort of consider all of those things with homeless services.
So if you didn't get this money, what would happen?
So one of the things the last kind of point was that shelters across the state are struggling. In Maine, 2 shelters have closed in the last year, and that is also affecting home. So we are having to fundraise for 95% of the cost of providing shelter, and this support means a lot to us. And we did reduce our request to right size it for the community, but we have been thankful for the support in the past, and it does mean something to us.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe it's Hospice of Hancock County.
They pulled their request.
Oh, they cannot be here. Am I not following that? I'm not following that, I apologize.
Yeah, just
Yep,
a
thank
line
you.
item.
Yep. So then I believe it's Home Health Hospice.
They also
They
pulled their
withdrew.
request.
I'll be okay. Yep. The alphabet was such a struggle before that.
Yeah, I
Yep,
get it.
Yep.
I believe I have Wick and Loaves and Fishes left on my list.
Okay.
I've done this right.
Well, I promised the alphabet.
And Wednesday's on Maine
Right.
as well.
Yep. So, Loaves and Fishes Food Pantry.
Hi, I'm Georgianne Sneed. I am a board member of Loaves and Fishes. Our 8,000 square foot pantry is located on Down East Highway in Ellsworth, but we do serve all of Hancock County. So of the 5,100 individuals we served last year, a little over 208 were households that are Bucksport residents. And that was a substantial increase from the previous year. I know there are other food pantries here, great food pantries. It is not uncommon for shoppers, individuals to visit multiple pantries. And the Loaves and Fishes pantry operates as a marketplace, very much a grocery store. So we're open 3 times a week. It's set up exactly like your small Hannaford would be. And people can get meats, fresh produce, dairy, pretty much everything you would get in a shopping trip. So in addition, we also offer life skills training and cooking classes to teach people how to use the things that they're picking up in the pantry. Again, our need from Bucksport grew in '25, our food costs grew, our need overall continues to grow as everyone in the room who deals with food will see as SNAP benefits continue to be cut. So we originally asked for a larger amount, but we did cut that back at your request. And in terms of fundraising, we raised over $500,000 last year. We received no federal funding other than the about $20,000 a year we asked for from the municipalities. Our volunteer board raises all the money for the food and as well as grant funding. We do ask for money from the municipalities, and yes, it seems like a small amount, but we do rely on building other funding sources because we are so totally focused on all of our funds coming from donors, which is not always a sustainable model for the long term. So we appreciate you considering this. I know it's a rough year, and everyone in this room does good work, but thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
You brought up an interesting point about how folks, will travel from one place to the other. How do you, I know when Raymond spoke before, it's a very controlled environment, to be sure, just once a month. Do you have a similar thing to regulate the
Great question.
in and outflow, so to speak?
Good Shepherd Food Bank has a system called SEMPSI, which is a statewide computer system, and that's how we know how many people are Bucksport residents, how often they come in. They have cards. You're allowed to shop once per week in our pantry.
Okay.
So, yes, it is possible someone could come to our pantry once and then go to other pantries other times. Looking at the numbers, because we also track the number of shops, the number of visits, not very many people come every single week. A lot of times you'll see we have a group of people who do, but then there are a lot of people who are in and out as circumstances cause that. Does that answer your question?
Great, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you.
Wednesdays on Main. Mr. Wall.
Good evening, my name's Larry Wall, and I'm standing in for Paula Key for Wednesdays on Main. And I don't have a spiel, so it'll be well under 3 minutes. I can tell you that Paula has reduced her ask from 5,000 to 3,000.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Wall?
I do.
Okay.
So I know Paula does fundraising and whatnot. Where does she primarily get, besides the town, where does she get her money for Wednesday on Main?
I think she gets a lot of it from sponsors. But I really can't answer that fully for you. I see here, Larry, is 2,500 in sponsorships.
I believe she charges admission for a lot of the events, some of the events that she raises, which
And she
goes
also,
towards that.
and she also applies for private grants, I think.
So if this money wasn't to happen, would the Wednesdays on Main be cut back from every week to maybe twice a month?
I would guess so, but again, I can't answer that 100%.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, Wick.
It was the one that I mentioned to you, Mr. Mayor. There was an error in the original email that first went out to the nonprofits 4 or so months ago, which had the incorrect date. So Wick actually showed up yesterday and was unable to attend tonight, but I told them that the council would still consider their funding request.
They have reduced that to 1,000. Questions on the whole from the council? I know a lot of people here are probably, if they did wish to speak this evening, are wishing to speak around community and social agency. So I'll open up the floor to about 15 minutes of public comment on that, and then we'll move to the second item under budget review. Do you have any public comment this evening on community and social agencies? You can just come right up. Yep.
Irene Atwood, I live at 579 Millvale Road,
Hi there.
and I have a prepared statement. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. As I read my prepared statement, I ask you to please realize that when I use the pronoun I, it should be understood that that pronoun is actually the pronoun we, as it references all Bucksport senior citizens. It is generally known that a lady never divulges her age. I will, however, make an exception and state that I'm in my late 80s and I have lived in Bucksport all my life. I have known that by paying real estate taxes to the town for over 60 years, I could be assured that there would be schools for our children, fire and police departments for our protection, and road crews, among others, to maintain a comfortable way of life in our town. I realized, however, with the closing of the paper mill, that the citizens of Bucksport had to face the reality of keeping the town going for its people. This was a hard and bitter pill to swallow, and obviously things would have to change, including the possible and difficult elimination of some town personnel. Now that I'm a very senior citizen, and knowing the tough decisions that the council must make to preserve our town, I ask you to listen carefully to the following scenario, as it will most likely certainly apply to some of you. So, you also are now in your late 80s, now walking with the use of a cane, a walker, or perhaps using a wheelchair. Your children and grandchildren have moved out of state, and you can no longer board an airplane to visit them. You can only remember vacations that happened in the past. You have sadly lost your spouse, and with all probability, you have lost siblings and lifelong contemporaries. You continue to live in your home alone and support the town through the paying of real estate taxes. This can be financially tough and an exceedingly lonely life. There is hope for you, however, as the Bucksport Senior Center is available to you. At this welcoming place, you can participate in card games, create needlework for the homeless, exercise, share a meal, work a puzzle, and yes, even enjoy a bingo game. But more importantly, you know that you may just sit for a while in a comfortable room and chat amicably with other seniors. How very wonderful that the loneliness disappears for a little while. Bucksport has a beautiful senior center with the most caring and competent director in Bill Foster. The town is incredibly lucky to have him in charge of the needs of our seniors. It is difficult to imagine that the council feels the need to cut financing for it. So when the council members during the budget process get to that 1% item regarding the Bucksport Senior Center, I respectfully ask that you remember that you too may be able to curb your loneliness by visiting and enjoying the friendliness of this wonderful place. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Foster, might I suggest in the future, if you need to do any advertising on any sort of level, you employ the services of Mrs. Atwood.
Irene is one of the gems of not only the senior center, but of Bucksport. She's a great lady.
That was well done. Anyone else? If you're here to speak for the senior center, you might as well, it's been said, but I'll give you the opportunity, but I'm here to tell you it's been said. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Shirley Grant. I used to deliver mail in Bucksport 25 years or so. I lost my husband in December. My daughter-in-law took down my tax bill to pay. And from 24 to 25, it has gone up over $1,000. Turned around. My husband used to cut wood and sell it around the neighborhood in different places. That's what we paid taxes for with. He is no longer here to do that. My son said he would pick up that slack to do, but he's had 2 strokes himself. So my daughter-in-law and him have been picking up the slack for everything that's had to be done. Then I hear that the taxes are going up again. How is the Bucksport people going to afford taxes if they keep continuing to rise? I say we need to look other places to cut. We need to either cut from the town. We've got to cut from either the town garage. We've got to cut from the town office. We've got to cut wherever we can cut. But these senior citizens need to be able to afford to stay in their homes. How are you all going to make this happen? It needs to happen. I have an 81-year-old friend who lives in her house by herself. She lives on a fixed income. She doesn't even have a clue. She's behind on her taxes. She's behind on her water. She's behind on her sewer. The people wasn't even going to bring her oil because she hadn't been able to pay for last year's oil. What are we going to do for these people? These are our seniors. These are the people that have lived here all their lives. I grew up in Bucksport. My whole family came from Bucksport. We need to figure this out. They need to be able to stay in their homes. If not, what happens? We sell our homes off to out-of-state people. They come in, what happens? We raise our taxes some more because they can afford it. They didn't come from Bucksport. They weren't raised here. Something needs to happen. All of you, we need to figure this out. Wherever it is that we need to cut it. It's got to stop. It really needs to stop. I don't know how you're going to do it, but we need to do it. Police, ambulance, I don't know.
Mrs. Grant, I appreciate your sentiment. I don't want you to take what I say outside of anything as to what I'm saying. I have a responsibility to run this meeting. This meeting is about, I understand your sentiment. It will be addressed. This budget is being decided finally in June. This is a long process. I'm telling you that because this evening we're here to talk about the community and social agencies. I appreciate everything you've said. Certainly we'll take it under advisement. And I'm not discounting anything you've said. I just want to make sure that we're keeping the meeting, we have an agenda of what we're going to be speaking about this evening. And I open the floor to public comment on the community and social agencies. I thought you were going to be talking about the senior center, so I apologize.
I'm talking
I'll
about
own
our
that.
seniors.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Anyone else?
By the way, she was my mail person,
Thank you.
and I met her husband, and I'm sorry for your loss.
My name is Joseph Devanzo. I live on 7 Spring Street in Bucksport. I do a lot of volunteer work and help out with the Bucksport Community Concerns. I also buy coats for them through the Salvation Army. I want to say that I think the village with the ghost port is very important for the young people in town, and if it's going to mean anything, I will make a contribution, at least half, if not more, if the town would approve at least the other half or part of it. If it's more, we'll work it out, okay? Just so it doesn't get thrown by the wayside, I think it's a good project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devanzo. Anyone else?
I have
Oh, yes.
an email that came through.
Thank you, Jake.
I am unfortunately unable to attend in person this evening. My name is Wynn Tarian. I'm a lifelong resident of Bucksport, graduate of Bucksport High School class of 2023, and former robotics team member. It's come to my attention recently that the town council is considering ending its funding of the high school robotics team 1 year earlier than agreed. In 2023, myself and 3 others came to present to the council requesting the town once again sponsor the team. The council agreed to fund the team for 5 seasons with a $5,000 grant each season for a total of $25,000. So far, the town has graciously supported the team for 4 out of the 5 seasons they agreed to. This money is critical for allowing students to gain STEM experience beyond the classroom. Personally, without the robotics program, I likely would not currently be studying mechanical engineering at the University of Maine. The exposure to engineering I was afforded by the first robotics program has greatly helped me in both my studies and internships and gave me a strong leg up on my peers. I know that funding is an extremely contentious topic this budget season, and many people have differing options. I would urge the council to, at a minimum, make good on the promises they made to the students of the robotics team, as well as continue supporting the team in the future in some way. Thank you, Wynn Tarian.
Thank you, Jake. Anyone else? Let me make sure before we move on. Okay. The next item on the agenda is overview of the second draft with reductions.
If we could, just for a second, talk about kind of the game plan around community and social agencies. Typically, the council kind of waits towards the very end of the budget process before they make a decision on what agencies they are going to fund and how much. I would say that staff is close to being ready to present a second draft of the budget, and it would be nice to be able to incorporate, if the council has, some sort of direction that they want to go in with these, it would be nice to incorporate that as part of our second draft. So I don't know that you want to make concrete decisions tonight or what the process you'd like to follow is, but if we could at least decide it sooner in the process than we normally do, that would be appreciated.
Some comments, Mr.
Please do, please, yes.
So I've been thinking about it a lot, and the person who just spoke, I understand it wasn't about social service agencies, but it is definitely.
It applies to what we're about to talk
It's
to.
definitely applying to sort of some of my discernment, and so my thought process really is just to consider Bucksport located nonprofits, and also consider cost avoidance nonprofits, the expenses that we would incur if we didn't have support. And so I would just sort of like to sort of lean into some of that. There are some, all of the services are good, and so I don't want to get into comparing operations and things like that. But we do have some, multiple agencies representing homeless services and food services and things like that. And so my thought process would be to really zone in on those organizations that are located in Bucksport or heavily serving Bucksport in a cost avoidance manner. That's just my discussion point there. And my thought process behind this is, I'm pro nonprofit, but I'm also pro this person who came and spoke very vulnerably to us, and this is what we're balancing today. And so for me, I would like us to really talk about funding the Bucksport located nonprofits and to consider some of the cost avoidance. I think it would be difficult to not consider the homeless shelter provider, because I do think that has a public safety implication. Public safety is our biggest budget line. If we didn't have a homeless shelter, our public safety department would probably need not necessarily another staff member, that's perhaps an exaggeration, but certainly there's some street time put on the ground when you don't have homeless services nearby. So just some things to consider there. I would struggle with funding duplicate efforts, more food pantries than just in Bucksport, more, shelter services in Ellsworth and things like that, this particular budget cycle. And so I think it was relevant to have the citizens speak up today. Thank you.
Town Manager Fran, would it help if next week's meeting, we each compile a list of what we feel and then you can take the numbers from there?
That would work.
And regarding the robotics thing, your commitment was, or the town's commitment was 5 years? Is it consecutive? If, like, say, and I'm not saying this is a for sure, but like a pause this year, but then possibly fund the next? Or is it supposed to be consecutive?
It's not an ordinance, correct? It's just.
This was it wasn't a resolve, it was
Just an agreement.
Kind of an informal vote that happened. It was voted on under discussion items. It never came back for a resolve. I mean, the council can do what they wish as far as how they fund it. Like the email said, there was a commitment of $5,000 a year for 5 years, and we haven't paid the $5,000 for the current budget that we're in yet. I believe finance is working on getting that out soon, and then this would be the last of that 5-year commitment that is before you tonight.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be consecutive, just as long as you commit to it.
The council retains the
Cause I'm kinda like
discretion
into the
to,
middle of this, so, and I don't know what the agreement initially was, so
Yeah.
that's just why I'm asking.
yeah, like I said, the council retains the discretion
Okay.
to,
Alright,
Pay
noted.
it, pay
what
it,
they
not
want.
pay it next year.
Well, the one thing is it wouldn't affect the ability to go this year because we would be making the contribution for.
Yeah, it isn't budgeted. I'll throw that out there that it's never been budgeted, and so it will be paid for out of contingency this year, and we are rightfully placing it where it belongs in the proposed budget. So that's why it's here before you. But yeah, we intend to pay for it out of contingency this year.
I mean, I'd be more comfortable paying it this year if we're gonna talk about it than next because their trip is
Right.
weeks away and they wouldn't have an opportunity to make up a difference.
I just was asking, I just need specifics.
I mean, the other option is to lean into basic needs, but I don't know. There's also sort of an aspect of citizen engagement and joy and economic development. I don't know if there's an economic development piece to some of the event stuff that we have that begins in Bucksport. Sort of, it's a hard one.
With, I don't see the person here anymore from home, but, oh, there we are, thank you. The question I had for home is, I saw your total assets, I saw your revenues, and, but the money going out, I mean, it seemed to me that there were a lot of, mortgages still hanging out there. Is that the case? I saw the 990 form and the revenues versus income versus out is like, whoa, there's a lot of lot of difference. And number of employees, are you used to be up in the 60s? Are you still at that level or have you
We have
cut?
about 44 employees.
You can come right up to the podium or up, yep.
We have 44 employees, about 26 of them are full-time. And I had said that about a quarter of them come from Bucksport.
Yeah, so you've cut back really, it seems.
Yes, in some ways. And we have one large loan that we have to pay, which is about $160,000. Otherwise, we have done well trying to manage debt. Can't think of it. But there is a big gap. There's a big deficit for us. And we're doing statewide advocacy for shelter programming, trying to, both work with the towns, the state, and then individual donors to bring in to make that gap smaller. But it does represent about $1 million. So.
Yeah, revenues were 1.7 million, expenses 2.4 back in '24, so, wow. Yeah.
So that's essentially what we have to face every year when we're trying to make ends meet, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? So it's a suggestion of Councilor Rankin that at next week's meeting, I want to make sure that we are all in agreement so that as a group, we have the amount of money or the community and social agencies, if there are any that we want to fund, that we are prepared to discuss that at our next meeting so that we can move forward from that meeting. All good with that? Okay, all right.
Who do we, you want a list in advance, and who should we send it to, and what's the drop?
If you want to prepare a list in advance, I would send it right to the
No, I don't want to
manager,
prepare a
but-
list in advance, I want to see if you want to prepare. a list
Oh,
in
well, I'm sure I might talk to you between now and next. But yeah, I would say have them for the next meeting so that we can
Okay.
have an open
All right, just
conversation
have
in
it for the
public.
next meeting, that's the answer to the question.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good, all right. Overview of second draft with reductions.
Yes, we had intended to be in a spot to be able to present the second draft tonight, but we're not quite there yet. This discussion tonight certainly is a factor in that, and certainly where the bottom line will be. And there's also some other things that we're still trying to tie up some loose ends with, so to speak. So we hope to present a second draft to you very soon. We're still quite a long ways ahead of schedule as to when we would normally present that. So there's plenty of time there. I originally in our initial budget presentation presented $420,000 worth of cuts, and those admittedly were primarily one time in nature, and while yes they would have been they would have addressed some of the budgetary problems that the town is facing this year, they would not last in perpetuity was a good word that Councillor Hare used. So at your last meeting you directed staff to kind of go back and find $250,000 worth of cuts. One thing that I want to say that to that resident, there are some structural reductions that we're going to talk about tonight. One of them, I'll just get into that, I guess, is where I'll go with it. And so department heads met this past week and came up to a spot of approximately $252,000 worth of reductions, and I'll just go through. There are three things. The first would be to the town historically has hired what's classified in our personnel policy as temporary positions on the waterfront. Those are seasonal positions that we hire in the early springtime, and their employment with the town is terminated in the late fall, and so they are not employed during the winter months. That has historically been one individual that works approximately 30 hours a week from the beginning of April till Rich could tell me
October 31st.
until the end of October, and then also two other seasonal positions that work primarily only during the summer months for I believe 10 weeks is what that was. And so now that the town has a facilities director that oversees the waterfront and who is primarily assigned to the waterfront during the summer months, our recommendation is to eliminate the positions on the waterfront, not rehire those positions in the upcoming year. That results in $34,000 in savings there. What I will say is that it's likely that, there's going to need to be some assistance from the highway department in order to help that one staff person with the upkeep of the waterfront, in particular during peak growth seasons when the grass is growing much faster than other points in the year. What that means is the town has always, the town's always had flowers on Main Street. And it sounds kind of funny, but the watering and the upkeep of those flowers on Main Street is a lot of staff time. And so truthfully, we're, the niceties, I guess as you might say, we're not in the position to have those things right now. And so it would be eliminating the flowers on Main Street, which would cut back on the staff time for those positions. Eliminating the 3 temporary positions on the waterfront, having the facilities director oversee, kind of all the maintenance on the waterfront, and having highway assist when needed. So that's $34,000 there. The second is to sunset or not fill a position in highway that is anticipated to retire by the end of this fiscal year. That would result in the crew going down to a director, the mechanic, and 4 laborers. And that would be a reduction of just shy of $99,000. It goes without saying that there's a smaller crew. You can't expect the same amount of service with a smaller crew. This would require the Public Works Director to take on an established and dedicated snowplow route. So there's going to be some more hands-on work done there in addition to the administrative duties of that position. And during the summer months, the crew is going to be stretched pretty thin. That's the only time that they are allowed to take vacation. And so when you reduce the crew, you got people out on vacation, people sick. There are going to be times when there's not a whole lot of people there. So it's an option. It's I think what I will say is, as we've gone through this process, we've done what we can to avoid layoffs. And department heads certainly agree that we would much rather not fill a position, upon an employee that is retiring than see somebody lose full-time employment. So that's $98,000 there. One thing that's not reflected in this that is worth mentioning, that's already reflected in the proposed budget, is there's also the elimination of 1 full-time position in the town office, in the finance department. So in the finance department, you're talking about a 20% reduction in workforce. In highway, you're talking about a 15% reduction in workforce. And on the waterfront, just those positions eliminated entirely. So cuts are here. They are a part of this as far as cutting positions. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there for the record. The third involves restructuring or looking at restructuring our recreation programming. There's some options here that come in, we feel conservatively at $100,000 worth. Right now, the town of Bucksport contracts with the Down East YMCA for our recreation programs, and that we pay or are slated to pay $165,000 for that contract this year. But the town does not retain any of the revenue associated with that programming. And so there are a number of options that I'll go through that the staff is discussing right now. The first option would involve the town taking recreation programming over again, no longer contracting it out, and that programming being overseen by our Community and Economic Development Director. This is going to be, this would generate the highest cost savings, but I would argue is the least sustainable. Rich is stretched pretty thin as it is and taking on an entire recreation programming. If there's somebody that could do it, it's him. He's got the energy for it. He certainly runs circles around me. But it is not sustainable, to expect him to do that, and he's very willing to do that, and this was his idea. And so again, it would be the highest cost savings there. I think eventually down the road, it would result in the hiring of a part-time position to oversee those programmings, but part of that is, the discussion behind the fitness center. The fitness center has, there's a significant cost associated with staffing the fitness center. And with a new gym coming in town and a gym at the community center in Orland right next door, there are other options that are available, around fitness centers. So that's kind of option A. Option B, that, is probably the more sustainable approach, would involve kind of going back to the drawing board with the RSU and with Down East Y and coming up with, a revised structure or revised agreement that's a little bit more financially equitable across the board, and see if there are some avenues for discussion there. I had a meeting with Dr. Tripp and Matt Montgomery, who's the director of the Down East YMCA this afternoon. So there are definitely options there, and we're exploring those. And then another option, should that partnership with the restructuring of that partnership with the RSU, the YMCA, and the town, if that's not feasible, also looking at, bringing on the staff person that currently works for the YMCA, retaining the revenue, and looking at a shared position between the town and the RSU and kind of split some of the net costs associated with having that staff person be either a town or a school employee as opposed to a YMCA employee. So there's a lot of options that are on the table right now that we're still very much working out the details with. We first approached this 2 days ago, so there's a lot of discussions that still need to be had, a lot of work that still needs to be done, but we feel as though any of those options certainly would result in a savings, in a reduction to the town. So all of those things combined, and I'll back up, this doesn't reflect any increase in revenue to the transfer station fee schedule. We haven't brought that to the council yet. We hope to do that at your next meeting. So there'd be some additional long-term revenue there. And this also doesn't address any of the community and social agencies that you talked about tonight. It would be fully funding the $63,000 number there. So if there's some agencies that the council chose not to fund or partially fund, there'd be a reduction there. So that gets the bottom line of municipal, school, and county to a 9.6% increase as incorporating all of those things.
Does that include paving?
That includes paving.
Okay, just one clarification.
There's a lot of things that are still included in this that we have yet to talk about, is what you're trying to say, Jacob, correct?
Yes, all of the original cuts, the one-time cuts, the wage freeze for non-union staff, the paving, the community and social agencies, all of those things, that original 400,000 is not reflected anywhere in that number. So that's still very much on the table.
I feel like, first, just thank you. I mean, I like any scenario that can avoid layoffs, can lean on attrition over layoffs for staff. And attrition, I think that's a good, especially your first, your second bullet point. I like, yeah, I think it's a good path.
The, go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Councilor Rebs and Councilor Rankin.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Something I want to keep in mind, because I was one of those that really wants to do paving this year, but are they gonna honor their prices last year like they said in the budget when oil prices are going through the roof?
I have a hard time believing that they will. They said last that you spoke to MJ. You can speak to that.
I spoke 2 days ago with a representative of the company that we did business with last year. They offered to carry forward the same price with the same escalator that is normally included in any contract, that if the price of crude on the day that you pave raises a certain amount, that it affects. So the base contract they offered to hold.
I see.
And that escalator exists.
In every contract like that.
What is the number? What triggers the escalator?
I am not sure exactly.
The price of.
I'm just curious if we're already there.
It is, it has to do, when they submit a bid, it's subject to the East Coast barge price on that particular day. And then the escalator is affected, and I don't think it would happen, but the price could go down if the price of crude went down.
Right, okay.
So the escalator goes both ways.
That's the only way I'm not gonna be in support of paving, is if we spend all that money for that mile and a quarter.
Sure. Yeah.
I would agree.
It's a very different environment than even 2 weeks ago when we were talking about paving. Yeah.
I will say that because we lock in all of our fuel, our gas, diesel, propane, and I get a notification every day on locking in that price, that we are starting to see it come down a little bit. So I'm not saying it's gonna get to where it was anytime soon, but it does seem to be starting to level off and come down a little bit in that sense. So
Well, this afternoon on Bloomberg, Amazon Delivery Services are putting a surcharge of 3.5% on every delivery, so, who do you listen to, that kind of thing, but.
I think what's interesting about your proposal, Jacob, today is there are things we've talked about, like the memory that this year's budget is sort of set because there's aids made and things like that. But there are other things that are coming in for revenue or expenses that in future years will be discussed anyway as well, to just to sort of add to this like initial structural shift. So.
I have a question about how items 1 and 2 kind of intertwine, in that if we're eliminating a highway position and then we want the highway crew to also help with summer maintenance, are we looking at overtime? Like, there's gonna be other increases that are gonna cut into what we're going to see by eliminating all waterfront positions?
I wouldn't anticipate overtime. What I would anticipate is things not looking quite as nice as they once did.
The other thing being, I was surprised at how much time they actually spend taking the trash.
Mhm.
So that, I mean, I'm trying to picture one person if it's feasible, if the people who are doing this work are saying that this is feasible, then that's fine. It's not gonna be, if it's not a sustainable cut, if it only works this one year and it's a mess and then we look at it again next year, I mean.
I also like that this is not touching the fund belt, I mean, the fund belt, the policy that we, I'm having a brain.
Fund
The
balance.
fund balance
Fund balance
policy, you had it.
Yeah.
But Counselor Air, I'm glad you brought up the marina, cause did have a question on that. If somebody came forward this year and said, we want it now, why couldn't we? We'd have to give them the money for the slips that we've received.
Prorated or whatever.
Yeah, there would just need to be some sort of a deal worked out where, whether they get the money for the slips or whether they take over ownership of it of a certain day. Nothing is off the table
So it would be
in that
possible.
sense. It's possible, and our community and economic development director has, I think, 3 different options. Rich, maybe you could touch just very briefly.
I knew we weren't gonna speak about it, so I brought it tonight. Always come prepared. So the 3 scenarios for the municipal marina, if there are no changes, the revenues for expenses, 175, 485 to run the marina with the revenue and expenses, the town would get $8,151 in profit. In a perfect year.
Not counting any
Nothing gets
rebuilding,
taken.
nothing broken.
We can't sustain a broken float. A broken float will sink us. We've replaced every float. The second would be hours for our marina manager. He is 40 hours during the season and is 20 hours outside of the season. Season consists of April 1st through October 31st. If you do the reduction in those hours, of course, we still have the same revenue expenses, but what we're able to do is it'd be $39,657. This is an enterprise account, so what that positive means is it goes into a reserve, which can help with floats or the building, which is in severe need of some work. The last option is to keep it for the 4 months beginning, because remember, this is a calendar year business, but it's a fiscal year budget that we deal with. We keep it for the 4 months and sell or lease. What you have to understand is that when someone looks at your books, your revenue is going to be, in the perfect world, your revenue will be $69,105, and that's from sales of gas, diesel, any transient boaters, and anything they may purchase from the marina store. But your expenses are going to be $107,333 because you collect your monies in this part of the budget year at the end, so it always trails. So at this point, what Town Manager Graham was saying is that the people who are staying at the marina have paid a deposit for this season, so they've paid half. The other half is due by the end of the fiscal year. We put the floats in with the help of the highway department. It's the highway department, myself, and facilities director, and the marina manager who handle that. So yes.
I just think it would be helpful for the public to understand the marina. Again, I know
I was just,
keep saying that.
she's reading my mind.
Okay.
because, you clarified, or I believe it was you, Rich, that clarified this last time, and it still came up in a conversation I had that when we talk about the marina, we're talking about selling from the bridge to the old mill. Can you just define what the marina is?
Yes, the municipal marina is listed as 88 Main Street. It's the little blue building on the waterfront that has a little door opening, a gangway that goes out and consists of 45 floats. All 45 floats have been rebuilt since COVID. That's where the gas and the diesel pump is located. We have a price, it's not a set price like the town has because we're resale, but we do sell it at a markup, which is why I can say that the revenue is gonna come from the sales of gas and diesel. There's your profit right there. The town dock is the next facility over, which is if you were to go down Bucksport Waterfront Restaurant's driveway, that is the town dock. And as an FYI, that project has been put out to bid. So the federal government has done what we needed and our engineers have put that out to bid.
You better explain.
And I'm
what
gonna
that
explain that. That is a $4.1 million project, fully funded by the federal government from a congressionally directed spending from US Senator Collins.
Zero money from the town of Bucksport.
At the very beginning, back in 2019, when this project started, this has been a very long, arduous project. The town of Bucksport paid for engineering services. That was paid from a portion of a grant from the Shore and Harbor Improvement Program, aka the SHIP grant, and that was $35,000 of $103,000. So in a $4.1 million project, which is, I'm just gonna muddy the waters even more. I was also able to secure for the town an additional $825,000 from the lawsuit up the river to upgrade water and electricity so that the cruise ship would not use and run their generator, which runs off of diesel. We'd have three-phase power down here. That is fully funded by the lawsuit up the river. So in an almost $5 million project, the town of Bucksport was responsible for $68,000, which all but $15,000 of that has been expended. And then we have a former fishing pier down the end, which is located by the Veterans Memorial. There no longer are docks there, and that was rebuilt in 2019.
Yep.
So we can look at selling and we can prorate the marina. I think it would absolutely behoove us that if we don't have a buyer, that we do not shut this down because people have already paid their deposits and are ready for doing that. And I know that's not an option you're discussing, but
Yeah, but here's the thing, Rich. Last year, we sat here in this chamber, and somebody came in front of us and said, well, we're 25 to 50% less expensive than going to Camden or Rockland. Then we also came along and said, well, we sell gasoline and diesel about 50 cents a gallon less than anybody else around. That to me is leaving a lot of money on the table. There's no reason why we should be doing that. If we were as good as those folks, we should be charging the same as those folks. That's just.
But the rate's already set for this summer.
I understand that,
But
but
Paul,
they
what I
should.
would suggest is if we have an interest in selling it, we get an opinion of value
Yes.
and move in that direction.
I totally
We
agree.
can't do anything about what
I
you're
know.
talking about.
I know, it's set in stone, there's no do-overs, there's no more coulda, woulda, shoulda, but we blew it.
what I would say is with the floats that you had out there, if you were to charge anything more, that's not feasible. Those things used to look like this. We didn't, as a town, fix the really bad ones till the very end. And why we did it that way, I don't know, but the very first year afterwards, we went up 15%. This year, I requested 5% and I cut internet. Now, that might seem less, but if you look back at that budget, that is a huge, as a matter of fact, Town Manager Grant can tell you about this. There was actually a marina customer who reached out to both of us because the staff is doing a great job, was asking what we could do for marina services, and I replied, I apologize, but we're actually cutting your marina services and your fees going up 5%. And that person was happy.
Yes, gotcha.
So we are going up logistically. In my mind, if we went up 15% again this year and cut their internet, that wouldn't be good for business. And you have to run the marina like a business, and I agree with you, and that's why the town dock is going up to what everybody around us
totally
is doing,
agree.
and you'll see that coming too.
Hold on.
Yeah, and I did not mean to raise my voice to you.
No, you didn't. I just want to make sure that we're all clear, because those docks, when we had the water event that happened just prior to July 4th, that really opened our eyes, because there was a helix mooring that was out that held the marina together that had been there for over 25 years. And when that spout came through and ripped that out of the riverbed, it took floats and went like this. And I've got to tell you, if it wasn't for the highway crew, we would have had a lot of damage to a lot of boats, because those floats were bad, and those were hundreds of thousands of dollars of boats. And kudos to the highway department, 20 minutes before they were scheduled to leave, they dropped and came down and helped save the town a crap ton of money. And the work they do to help us put these floats in the river, we do it with people on vacation. We run that marina as cheap as possible as we can, because the labor we get, I mean, it requires all the department heads to do this as well. So I get it that we're cheaper than everybody else and the gas is cheaper than everybody else. And I'll argue it helps with economic development extremely. And if we do keep this for another year, it's gonna go up at least 15 to 20% more. Cause it has to.
Works for me.
Okay, I wanted to make sure you got, okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Did you just say crap ton?
Did I say that on TV?
You did.
I
Take the boy
apologize
out
to
of
the
Rhode
FCC.
Island. You can't take the Rhode Island out of the boy.
I'll put $1 in the jar.
No, I'm just teasing. Councilor Rabb.
Okay. Just to let you know, sitting out there in the audience tonight, where social services started a few weeks ago, we were at $85,000. Tonight, we're at $63,029, so it's still a pretty hefty sum of money. I'm gonna tell you right now, I was pretty upset when I read this memo from the town manager this afternoon, not because of the author and the way, what he put forward, but this is municipal budget increase potential. We're still working on it, 10.19%, school 8.5%, county up 19.49%. I'd really like to have the commissioner from the county come in here and explain to us, all of us citizens, how they can be looking at 19.49%. I know you're on part of the committees, but I'd like to know, when was the counselor that represents us, when was the last time that he came in and said anything to the people of Bucksport?
Commissioner, you mean?
The commissioner, okay.
To
When
be
was
fair-
that?
I've never seen it.
Probably never. I think it's about time.
Well, Councilor Rabs, I don't mean to interrupt you. To be fair, I don't know that we've extended an invitation. I'm certainly not. I'm happy to do that.
Well, I'd like to see them, because I know I'm beating this dead horse again, but we're not using services that they can provide. We provide them police coverage on mutual aid. We have our own dispatch center, we don't use that. We have our own animal control, we don't use that. And they want to raise it 19.49%. That to me is, what's the word the Rhode Islander just used? Anyway, it's we gotta go more. This isn't enough. We gotta go more. I went up 31% last year. You can look up my tax bill online. It was staggering. My mortgage company just paid the other half bill the other day. It was like, ouch. This is, we're not there yet. We gotta, and if it comes down to paving, I appreciate the level of where your head's at, the cost of oil and all that, but $200,000, that's a lot of money to put towards.
But we've said, Paul, again and again, if we don't do it, we're eventually gonna get into a situation where we pay twice as much.
I get that. I'm just asking for a pause for one year.
we've already
We put
paused.
$4 million into paving.
We're not gonna do back and forth, gentlemen.
We're 13 miles behind at least on a paving schedule.
I get it. Anyway, good point. No back and forth.
Thank you. Folks, if you'd like to speak, you're more than welcome to come up to the podium. All right, so just one thing I wanted to add, Jacob, I appreciate what's been discussed here around the recreation. Here's what I'll say, just as one person on this council, and I don't know that I can be swayed. I cannot support the community, and I know that this is not a reflection on him at all, but I think over the past almost year, where we have allowed the community and economic development director to focus on economic development and community development, we have seen an increase in economic development, quite frankly, in the town of Bucksport. And I hope that we continue to see that. And while I know that Rich probably could do that, I just cannot. We worked pretty hard to get to a place where we were working on his responsibility. His responsibilities were, the work that he was doing so much work off the side of his desk that we really worked to eliminate that. And I cannot support adding recreation onto his plate. I appreciate the suggestion, but we've talked at length about the need to increase revenue. And I feel like in the last 9-10 months that we've seen some positive movement there, and would like that to continue, and feel that that being Rich's primary focus will drive that. That's just my 2 cents on that. Anyone else have any comments or questions for the town manager?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, this level of structural shift is pretty good for the first year of a structural pattern, as a pattern of shifts that we're gonna have to make over 3 to 5 years. I think to Councillor Rabs's point, certainly look at these one-time things again, like also to town manager's point, we're gonna revisit some of those one-off things. But and this is not disagreeing with what you said, Mayor, I agree with you about.
You can disagree with me all day.
But I don't. But I do think I'm content settling with this structural pattern for this year. I think any more than that would be very challenging for the town. And I'm not talking about the one-off, the paving and all of those things. Those still need to be discussed, the marina, the social services and things like that. But generally, as towns go, and this was your point at last meeting, to make a structural adjustment of $500,000 in one budget year is not. I don't think that's wise for a town. But I think this is a good step forward. And as the auditor said, this is not a 1-year process. He also said we can turn the ship around with some wise moves, and we've done that. We've done the fund balance policy. To your point, we've cut already a finance position. We've got a proposal here for another $250,000 in structural cuts. I think that's good for this year. I'm not saying we stop there at the other things, but I just see the positive in the proposal before us.
I agree with your remarks,
Yeah.
but right now we're looking at a 10% municipal increase.
But Paul, hold on, I gotta stop you there. We're not looking, we could potentially, if we make no other changes. But we haven't even seen a second draft of this budget.
That's where we sit tonight.
That is where we sit tonight,
I know.
but
We can agree to disagree.
we absolutely can agree to disagree, except we're not making a decision on this budget until the first time we'll even consider a budget or a public hearing is in May. And my concern is that people take some of the things that we say and run with them. And quite frankly, we are not done with this budget. There are portions of this budget we have not even had a chance to look at. And it's very important that the messaging on that is said accurately.
It is, excuse me, but it is accurate. That's in black and white as of a day ago. That's where we're at. That's the point I'm trying to make. That's where we're at.
Except, Paul, that the conversation, or excuse me, Councilor Rabs.
No, you can call me Paul. It's okay.
I know, you can call me Paul too. And I'm not coming after you, because but it's very important that the messaging on this is right now in what Jacob has proposed in this hypothetical situation is a municipal budget increase of 10.19%. That does not include a number of things that we know we're going to talk about as well as what we've talked about. And so to state it as the budget is going to go up 10.19% and that's in black and white, quite frankly, is not entirely accurate.
I agree. And
Okay.
that's where it sits tonight, okay?
Except-
But when we did the first draft, it was gonna be take out over $400,000, now we're $250. The point is, we're going the wrong way, in my opinion. Now, we still have plenty of time to keep going at it, and we will probably go at it some more, figuratively and emotionally, but that's where I'm at tonight, and I'm just.
No.
Well, I think the difference, Councillor Raps, the first round, the first 450 were mostly one time, not structural shifts. These are two different conversations. This is structural in perpetuity, money not coming back to taxpayers next year. And that's the difference. I think the first round of budgets, we were at that 400 mark, which was cutting things that would come back to taxpayers next year or the year after. I think they're just two different conversations, and I agree with Mayor Bissonnette that this is a budget process. This isn't a budget decision tonight. This is a process, and I think the process to bring a structural change of $250,000 is a significant effort for a small town. Who we hear loud and clearly from many people, they want to keep services.
Yep.
I think this is a good structural effort. Can we look more at the one-off efforts? Absolutely, but I do think it's two different conversations. I don't think we're going backwards. I actually think this moves us forward.
Yeah, we're going forward for sure.
That has to be said. That on top of everything that we were talking about a week ago, that we have the opportunity to take, the department heads have gotten together and reduce this budget by another $250,000 for our review. Councilor Rabs, I don't mean to come after you, but to state that as moving backwards is inaccurate. It's inaccurate. That is progress on what we have been talking about since January and what we will be talking about since June. And we had somebody sitting here tonight saying, I've heard that taxes are going up. There's been no decision made about taxes. Now, I am certainly not sitting here saying that taxes are not going to go up. But if the message is out there that every time we have a conversation that where the municipal budget in this draft, in this particular hypothetical situation being up 10% means that everybody's taxes is going up, that's not a productive conversation. And then we talked about this going back to last summer, that we were gonna have these conversations and they were gonna be uncomfortable. And right now we're having one. But the messaging on this has to be clear, that this council is looking at this in a particular scenario and that we are gonna continue to work on this. There's a portion of the budget that we haven't even looked at yet, and including revenue and expense, and that we are going to, we haven't even seen a second draft of this budget. So Councilor Rebs, I don't mean to come at you, except to say that to state that this is a moving backwards. I cannot disagree with you more. I cannot disagree with you more.
We received a PowerPoint presentation on draft number one, and we're moved. We'll see where it goes.
Okay.
Okay, but that's where we stay as of tonight.
Okay.
And the county is fixed. There's no changing that.
There isn't. Yep.
And I'd really like to have that commissioner in here to talk about that.
Okay. We can certainly extend an invitation to Councilor Wambacher to come in and talk to us about that portion of it.
There, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
okay, there is still flexibility with the school. I got a phone call from Dr. Tripp today. A week or so ago, he told me you might be a little bit closer to 8%. Now it's looking like we might get down a little bit closer below that. Again, touching on what you just talked about, I don't want to throw percentages out there because once you say them, that seems to be it. But we're not done. We have a few budgets left to talk about. Nothing that's going to be earth-shattering. We have the enterprise funds, which don't affect taxation. We have, I think we have debt service and capital improvements. I mean, there could be some adjustments there if we were, like I said, capital improvements right now is primarily, we're funding the debt service payments that we have in capital improvements. We're not proposing any new projects. And after that, it's cemeteries, which I think is a $13,000 budget. So we've looked at the big players in this budget, and we did present $400,000 worth of one-time cuts. That's accurate. Now we've presented $250,000 worth of structural cuts, which I would argue are not sustainable. A 20% reduction in finance, a 15% reduction in highway, eliminating waterfront staff, they're not sustainable. We're reacting to where we're at, and quite frankly, we don't have a choice but to react where we're at. But to think that there's now, I ended last meeting I guess, with the perspective of if we cut $250,000 worth of structural items, we'd be in an acceptable spot. Now we've done that, and I can't read the entire council, but it sounds like we're not to that place yet. So I guess some guidance there, because what I've said all along is that we're trying to avoid scrambling at the last minute, and that's why we're having these conversations early. And I can tell you, there's no more reducing finance. There's no more reducing highway. This restructuring of the recreation program is gonna be tough. And it's doable, but it's gonna be tough. And so I gotta tell you that I don't have a whole lot more to give at this point. And I think the department heads would probably say the same thing. If I were to bring each one of them up there, we reduced $700,000 worth of operating expenses in last year's budget. This year we've tackled staffing levels. And, you know, the argument all along has been don't touch public safety staffing when we haven't done that. But I'm running out of pots of money to pull from. I'm running out of budgets to pull from. And if we need to go further than this, it's going to be some pretty significant changes.
I would like us to land on these structural cuts, revisit the paving based on the costs.
Yep.
Revisit the social services as one time. And yeah, I mean, I just don't see any other way for deeper cuts. I just don't this year.
I know I've drawn your ire tonight, and we've gone back and forth, but I cheated. I read ahead in the budget book what we've got coming up next. And I understand the remarks that you just made. I cheated. I read ahead.
No, I know.
And where's it gonna
absolutely.
come from? So that's what, I get it.
But it's
I know, we'll get it.
It revolves around that 420. I know. Yep.
I know.
Paul, you and I are on the same page. You know that. It's just I just took exception to that's moving backwards. We're gonna move this forward anyway.
So we will revisit the one-time items. And go ahead, Rich. Sorry.
No, you're okay. Wait a minute. I just want to commend Town Manager Graham on what he inherited. He did not ask for this. He did not know this. His department heads did not know this. Our staff is taxed. They're stressed, and everyone's wondering what's going to happen. And I appreciate all of you more than you know. But at some point, and I know we need to get through the whole thing, but people's lives and their jobs are on the stake, and morale is starting to fall. The worst thing is when morale goes down, because when morale goes down, turnover happens. It is most cost effective to retain employees than it is to train and rehire. I just ask that some of those one-time cuts that were presented, if we could move those up the list and let the people who serve this community in public safety, in public works, and in this building can rest easy at night. I know the taxpayers are struggling. We're all taxpayers. We live here. And when we say that we want to keep public safety, please remember, down the end of the road at the Spring Fountain, we have a business that's coming in that may increase calls quite considerably, especially if it's run like it was run in Ellsworth. Please remember, in order for public safety to get to places, we need the roads plowed, or they can't get there safely. So please, think of all of the employees that work with you. And I know economic development has improved, but if a 1 year, I have all the faith in Dr. Tripp, Town Manager Grand, and Matt Montgomery that they will do the absolute best to get the absolute We have to cut that number by 125,000. If that means I need to do recreation, that no additional revenue, that is what I'm proposing because it will be the right thing. I will not be coaching any of those youth sports. I promise you. I won't do what I did at the marina or the waterfront. But you have to remember when that happened, 3 people had major medical crises and 1 passed away, and that left the next man up. I just ask, please help our morale and look at those one-time things sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rich. Good feedback.
And I just keep coming back to the fact that no matter, even if we make these really painful cuts, it's the amount it's saving us is not enough, right? There isn't anywhere to take from to get to enough.
Yeah.
So that's just a reality. That's just.
And I think that's what the auditor was saying, like, to Jacob's point, they're not sustainable, but we don't actually have a choice unless we just keep presenting full budgets that citizens can't afford. So, yeah.
I don't want to lose sight on the work that department heads have done to get to this point.
Right.
There's some hard discussions that have been had, and I'll leave it at that. We've got a hell of a team that serves this town, and the staff people that work for this town are top notch. And all they're asking for is a decent wage, decent equipment. I'll leave it at that.
Jacob, would it help, especially in the context of Rich's comments, would it help as you're preparing your second draft of the budget? Because I think this goes back to what Councilor Rabs and I were discussing.
Discussing, that's a good word,
Yep.
yes. It was an interactive engagement.
That's right,
Yes.
yep. Would it help if the council provided guidance on moving forward, what we're gonna consider are the cuts that you initially presented, the additional cuts that you've presented, and beyond that, there's not much else that we're in a position to cut? I'm not trying, please, I hear that coming out of my mouth, and I'm not trying to put words in the council's mouth. I'm saying, would it help to say something like that in terms of providing guidance moving forward?
I would say so, and if there are areas that you don't want touched, to identify those. And if, going back to some of those one-time things, off the top of my head, it was wage freezes for staffing, it was the community and social agency, it was paving, it was looking at what we're funding as far as the fund balance restoration is. I think that those are primarily what's left. And so if, to revisit that, absolutely, and if the council's in a little different perspective now of wanting to, consider those things, then that would be helpful to know for sure.
I'll ask the question. I think, sorry, Paul. I'll ask the question. If the council is in a place where it's prepared to say that it is not interested in layoffs, not that I care too much about headlines, but there was a headline last week in a publication that I don't know told the whole story. I got feedback from people who were at this meeting saying that's not what you folks said. I get that. But to Rich's point is, to me, the more important one. If we're at a place where we are not looking at further reductions in terms of staff, can we say it? Are we comfortable with that? Are we comfortable that we've taken a look at this at that level, or do we need more time? If we need more time, I think we do owe that to the public, but we also have a responsibility to the people that report to Jacob.
I'm comfortable that the only strategic structural cuts are the ones that Jacob presented tonight, right?
I agree.
Comfortable with that.
I would agree with that.
I agree.
And I agree, and further, the non-union people, I think, and in the economic environment of everything that's going on right now, that the 3% increase, we should not take away that from those people. The union people are getting their cost of living adjustment. And I'll be quite flip with my remark, but I think it would be a slap in the face if we did not pay our non-union people a 3% increase. That's just the way I feel.
I agree with that.
Let's talk about paving. We
Yeah.
eliminated 50,000 from that
I mean,
$400,000 list.
the economy
so let's talk
may
about
dictate paving. I mean, I think it's
Right.
it's a
Okay.
problem not to do it, but, you know, I'm not saying we should do it at every, you know, if we
Okay.
can only get 2 miles out of this money, I mean, it has to be considered.
If we're gonna do it, I wanna get what we should be getting, not half.
I support tabling it for this year's budget.
But if we think forward, we just did a $3 million bond. My concern is we run right into another one. I mean, we just did.
I totally agree with you, but it's
a tough call, because, I mean, if it's 200 now and it's 400 later, I don't have the right answer, Paul. I'm just.
Who does?
It's almost impossible to have the right answer. in
Councilor
this
Rankin
climate.
brought up a very good point tonight, and I'm still of the opinion not do the paving this year. It's $200,000. Town manager is
100,000.
running out of places
No,
to find money.
It's 100,000, he's saying.
Well, then he was gonna take another 100 out of reserve,
Reserves,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious if there was any street, I know there are a couple streets that I hear about fairly regularly that if there was any emergency situations, that would be one thing, but I think it's something that has got to be a conversation, and I think the deputy mayor is 100% right. The economy itself and the price of asphalt moving forward may dictate exactly what we do, but it sounds like we're in an okay position there.
Sorry.
No, please.
Do we know, I brought up the streets, do we know which streets are like the worst?
I haven't
Has
heard.
that been
I don't think that's been laid out. Jay?
pointed out?
Well, we were gonna talk about this at the next meeting at
Yes.
the Capitol.
Do you wanna
Building,
save it
but-
for there? I mean,
But
You can. I
I
just like I said,
can give you a condensed version off the top of my head.
Can we
'cause
talk
I'm
again?
Then we'll be even more ready next week.
The, going at the 200,000 number, at the rate we have today, if there was no changes up, it was going to give us 2.4 miles.
Out of 60.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was what I am or was going to propose is that there is a mile on Bucks Mills Road that you're familiar with that is in it's in very rough
Yes, it
condition.
is.
And so there's 1 mile there. Then there was another mile, 0.9, 9/10 of a mile at the very top of the Jacob Buck Pond Road. That's in worse condition by far than that one. And then we're staring at Park Street,
Yeah,
which
it's falling apart.
it's, right. There's a lot of conversation about that, but half of it was never finished. Never had a surface layer on it. It's in terrible condition. It needs to be covered up. Plus, all the structures that were raised last year were raised and the road wasn't paved. So we've had to plow around and over basins sticking up. It's like, that should get paved. That's 0.3, it's like 3/10 or a little more. And then there's a section on School Street from Franklin around by the Redemption up to.
That's the one I get calls about.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't disagree. It's absolutely, it needs to at least have a surface on it as a Band-Aid to get us through till we're in a better position to. All of those together add up to that 2.4 something miles.
Well, I'll drive slower on Washington, just to save you a mile.
And that,
right
that's,
there.
I mean, I've identified and
Yeah, I get it.
there's many other roads that are at that level that it should be surface, but those are the absolute worst sections that my condensed version. For that 200,000 mark.
Briefly, to go back to the 420,000, it was $85,000 social agencies. Originally, it was $30,000 looking at restructuring or reducing the contribution towards the YMCA. $25,000 increase to the fee schedule, and I think we've done that, or we certainly will do that once we address transfer station. 50,000 for wage freeze for non-union staff, 100,000 of paving, eliminating $100,000 towards the fund balance appropriation, and the $30,000 for part-time reduction on the waterfront, which we've done. So that's what we're talking about here. So we might be going in circles a little bit tonight, and I don't mean for us to do that, but we can, if the direction is for us to go back to the drawing board further, and we can do that. It's our job.
I mean, my suggestion is not to go back to the drawing board, to stick with the structural cuts, to come back with our list for social services, and then next year we'll have a whole different set of issues to chat about. That was my first initial. I think you've already outlined that this is going to be a strain already.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and the auditor was clear about that. This isn't going to be easy, but my recommendation would be to stick with the structural cut, come back with our social services list, and then stick with the decisions we've made at prior meetings.
And the others that Jacob just listed off, make
Yeah.
sure we talk, yeah.
Luke.
I mean, the truth is 10%'s not that bad. I mean, it sucks, but it's, when you look around us,
I would hate to go back to the table on staff, on all of it. We've done due diligence looking at these budgets. We haven't taken any of the staff for granted. We haven't taken our responsibility to taxpayers for granted. We've done the best we can to dig in and make decisions that are really, really difficult. And I think where we are today, it's not ideal, but it's not terrible. It's terrible.
it's a starting point.
But it's a certain point that we've landed at, and I would hate to go back to the table on this.
Just two questions. One, you might know off the top of your head. How much longer do we have to pay on that $3 million bond we took out on the roads?
You said the end of 27, I thought, Jacob.
That sounds right.
We dropped one this year, and then we dropped the other one next year.
No, I don't think so there.
Pick it back up with the
Well,
new
that's
road
what I'm
project.
wondering. If
It seemed like it
we
would
put
line
it
up when I
off
talked
this
to you.
year, could we do another one of those bonds and do another, and then we could fix everything like we did? I know it's not the ideal model, but in this shape we're
That
in.
is, well, I mean, it's very much a model that a lot of communities use, you know, rather than.
My other question was about the fund balance. It wasn't, these deficits weren't created over the course of a year. I know you guys, we did a policy, but why does it have to be refunded or fixed in a year? Why can't we spread it out over three?
No, it's over five.
No, that would be over 5.
It is over 5?
Yep.
I mean, I do think we could look at, if we do take a serious look at divesting of some parcels, that we could agree that that could be what makes up the difference with that fund balance. You know, and I'd be comfortable with that. I mean, but we should be trying to get there in somewhere close to 5 years. It's just gonna make it harder in the future.
I could agree with taking that 100,000 out of the fund balance, or not putting it back into the fund balance if we.
Agree that anything we sell,
the parcels go into the general fund.
Into the fund balance.
The fund balance, yeah.
Fund balance.
What's your thoughts on that?
It's doable. I would rather, address some of the fund balance things now. And then if you get more revenue from selling some of these properties, that's a shorter period of time as opposed to doing it in 5 years. You do it in 3 years instead, and make up for it more on the back end, just entirely because of our cash flow issues that we're having right now. But I would say regardless, anything, whether it's the School Street Firehouse or the property on 46 or whatever, that all needs to go into fund balance. There isn't a question there. And we're putting equipment up. We have a generator at highway, a plow, a dump truck, another piece of equipment. All of that's gonna need to go just into the general fund to get it to a better, so that's gonna help also. But I don't think it's wise to budget for those, the sale of those things.
Right.
Fair enough.
I had one other question that did you guys individually or collectively have any thoughts about the dump stickers and what kind of fee you might like to see, or whether you even want to go that route, or could you give some direction as to where you think?
To go that route.
Yeah, I think we should, because that's a user fee. I mean, the people using it help pay for it, whereas if it's just on the taxpayers, they're missing a whole segment that use it. So I think it's reasonable to look for more fee out of that.
A reasonable fee.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying unreasonable.
Ideas? 25, 20, 50? I mean, what?
20 was the number that was in my head, but
20 was in your head?
I mean, how many stickers are there, Luke, I guess?
Well, and Danny just left, I think. Is Danny still here? No.
Approximately.
I don't
Casella
know.
was budgeting for 1,800 households.
Yeah.
It would be at least 1,800.
That's right, 18.
Depending on.
36,000.
And then
Is
that
that
would
right?
be, those would be stickers for
Annual.
residents, but residents,
Yeah,
not
residents.
Correct.
people who potentially, like businesses and things that are.
Well, what we're gonna propose next week is that only the only businesses that would be using the transfer station would be like small businesses like book stacks or places that had office waste and stuff. No commercial industry type places
There
or
would be fees for that
contractors and
side.
stuff. Those, well, no, we're not gonna allow contractors at all.
Just to cut down on the.
Cut down on the demo and stuff. That was our thinking.
Most of it'll be residential now, more or less.
Yes,
high
it should
percentage
be
will be
should be
residential
significantly less
versus-
is what we're thinking.
Cause
Go down
we'd
to
be
shed
paying
where
more
you
in
go, yeah.
transporting it than we could
Right.
get from folks if it were accounted for.
That's our thinking, but ultimately up to you to decide. We're just gonna present it. But I was just looking for some direction on those stickers and what you were thinking.
Because we did already talk about the transfer station budget, this week.
And do we put that as income or do we put it into a fund for the
potential
for the
We need that hopper.
for the hopper if it breaks? So those were the two options there too for you guys to think about. So
So I had a question though.
Yeah.
So, they can't bring any demolition debris to the dump, but charge them by, like, you said they bring in like trailer loads and stuff. Why not
we
charge
do
them?
now and we charge them, but you'd have to charge them a lot more. And I mean, I don't
What's being charged for the,
for demo.
yeah,
It's right now. I think it's $8.73 a cubic yard.
see, that's cheap.
$10 a truckload, I think is what Dan said. Is that the same thing?
For level, level with
Yeah,
the
well,
bed.
Yeah, we can take a look.
And
at
we're
the schedule
increasing
next week.
those. We basically doubled it. You're gonna see them next week, but it's an 8-foot bed would be $30. So it's basically $15 a yard. 8-foot bed holds 2 yards. 6-foot bed holds 1.5 yards. So it would be $22, I think it is, or something. So I mean, they are going up, but
Cost of a roll-off is.
yeah. So, but those were fees really intending for like, hey, you're re-shingling your roof, you need to get rid of your shingles, you bring them there and you pay. It wasn't meant for Jim Bob, who's demoing 3 houses in Prospect, and he's bringing it to us to. Frankly, we
Or at least
don't.
maybe
Frankly,
put a
we don't
limit.
want it. We'd rather they deal with it somewhere else and not make our guys have to truck it over to Hamden. The more we get, the more we have to truck, and
Tipping fees.
and with especially where we're losing a staff member too, that's less people that can truck and all that. So
$20.
So
I'm fine with that, yeah.
I think it's
We'll
good.
see the rest of the schedule next week. Okay.
and then you guys tell us where you want the money to go.
So, Mayor, can you clarify where we are right now?
Sure.
I'm in the town office.
I'm a little bit.
Okay.
No, it was a
Who were you
question.
asking?
I was asking.
Are you, oh, in terms, you
I
oh,
knew
you
you were
wanna
gonna
know
do that
in
for
terms of
us.
next time, or?
Oh, just where we are. So we're, because town manager was asking, is he good? Does he have to go back?
Oh, yes, yes.
Would like to give the town manager some guidance, yay or nay on that tonight, if possible. Or, I don't know, I don't.
Let me try, I'll ask this question, you tell me if I've got it right. Please, tell me if I have it wrong.
Yeah.
We've taken a look at this hypothetical. This is a direction we could go. Here are some cuts for us to consider. There was also the additional cuts that, some of which honestly are included a little, in this.
Yeah.
But we'll take those cuts and consider them. Outside of that, in terms of major structural changes, we're not asking the town manager to go back and review anything beyond what we're talking about. Am I saying that correctly?
That's where I am.
Okay. Is that where we're at?
Yes.
I would say not because, because it's already happened. There's no, asking him to go back for what? He's defined what? There doesn't, you would say there's nothing left to.
It's
There's
service
always-
remediation.
There's always something, I mean,
But it would be substantial.
but
at this point.
it's, yeah.
I mean, I know we all get calls. I certainly get calls too, as you might expect. I will say this, I keep track. I received far more calls since July 1st of last year about not reducing services, far more than I have about lowering my people's tax bills. That is anecdotal evidence at best, but I've received far more calls about the state of some roads than I have about reducing people's tax bills. And I received a fair number of calls about tax bills. I'm just putting it out there that, you know, I get stopped more about, yeah, but you can't cut this, you can't cut that. I'm just putting it out there. There are some things we have to cut, but I mean, just.
I agree with Council Hare. I think we've gone as far as we can within this budget cycle with.
I mean, it's 12-month
Structural.
budget cycle. We can't take our town out at the knees in a 12-month budget cycle. I think, I just would worry about going further in structural cuts.
So I've heard from this side, I've heard from Councilor Doty. Gentlemen, not to put you on the spot, just wanna make sure I'm not leaving you out by yourself.
If you and the department heads feel this is the best we could do, this is the route to take, I will support stopping right where we are. There's been lots of suggestions, lots of, but if this is the best that you all collectively think we could do, I'll say I'll support stopping, looking any further for structural changes.
I mean, to me, the paving is gonna be a decision based on economics, it's. If we can't even get 2.4 miles out of 200,000, we just have to weigh it out, I guess, and just depend on where the price of oil goes.
Sir?
Ditto.
Okay.
We'll meet again. My department heads will look forward to it. And just one last skim through to see if there's anything else. And like I said, there's still some revenue things that we're working on that need to be incorporated in this. Certainly looking at sticker fees for the stickers, and I assume putting an expiration date on them is the thought process behind that. There's revenue there. The school's gonna come down, hopefully, maybe another % or so. So we're not done. We're
not close to done.
I just remind you that normally we'd just be starting the budget process right now. So we've done a lot of work in this 1 month's period of time. So still a lot of time left, plenty of time to come up with some ideas and
Does this give you enough direction?
it does. It does.
Just a simple idea on stickers.
Yep.
26, go with red, 27, go with blue.
Yeah,
You know, just,
that's how it's normally
you know, you
done.
come and get a dog license, get your sticker for the dump, you know, once a year.
Yep.
Go and live here half a year, too bad, you'll get a break next year, but you know, just change colors, make it simple.
We will do that.
Anything else? I'll open it up to the public real quick, but it's dwindled, hasn't it?
Yes.
All right, if there is nothing else, I appreciate the conversation this evening. We promised that this conversation would be interesting, and it certainly is. And we're gonna get there. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?